This is world-famous Detective Richard Moore, and you're listening to the Case Closed, One Truth Prevails podcast.
Yeah, as Richard just kind of let us off here, it's been quite a while since we've been together and doing a podcast. Obviously, the band is back together. We've got Apera, we've got Dwall, we've got JoeB, we've got myself, Professor C. And this is I guess we could call it the Detective Conan podcast, just basically, or One Truth Prevails podcast. We've kind of gone by a couple different names here, so but we're all together, and we all really are excited about this news that's going down. Obviously, with now we just call it Detective Conan. I guess we saved.
We had to get the band back together for. We had to get the band back together for this because it's pretty big. It's pretty big news. Like, we couldn't just have one person do this. We had to get the whole gang here for it. So
I was gonna say, you'll have to pardon me because I will probably still call it Case Closed. I don't have it.
Oh no, that's fine.
But
we all will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So big news.
Yeah, and obviously it's great to have everybody here because, I want to get the perspective. I think everybody, has a voice and has thoughts on this as far as what this means. I did kind of want to talk about how we got here. There is still some kind of misconceptions out there about this is a really hard sell for TMS to make. With the
one
series,
Twitter posts per thing, if it even gets that.
Right, but if you go back to the beginning, if we go all the way back to 2004, and this is really relevant to what's happening today, this series got a really sloppy, choppy release from the beginning. I mean, you go back to, when we got a season 4 starter set and the first 7 episodes in the whole Secret Life of Jimmy Kudo DVDs, there were episodes that we were getting that never even aired on Adult Swim, and they just wanted people to watch it on there and then pick it up later. Really some choppy releases. I will say, I will give Funimation props. They did promote the heck out of it in the beginning and did a great job with that. But I will say that some of that sloppy releases, obviously it Adult Swim, it didn't do well. It's had a rough go. Even coming back, if you look at, what happened at the end of 2005 when we got the last of the season 5, content, or what we thought was season 5.
Yeah, but they didn't finish it.
Right, they didn't finish it, and then they come out the next year and they're like, okay, all those episodes that were on Adult Swim that you can't really watch anymore, now we'll put them on DVD and we'll put them on these 3 to 4 episodes. And you can buy them there, and then, oh wow, a year later we're going to come out with full season box sets, so you can double and triple dip for this stuff.
I have all 5 of the save editions. All 5 seasons. I still have them. I have one right here next to me right now.
Yeah.
Which one is this? This is season 1. The super amazing value edition when they were doing those.
Yep. And they were basically coming out with the season sets, then the save editions, then the Viridian collection.
The Viridian, Viridian collection.
I still want the Viridian collection. I have the series digitally. But we're not going to get into the update.
I will say the Viridian has a thicker case. I have a season 2 of the Viridian, and I like the casing on it because it's a lot thicker than what you would get in those original season box sets, and then what you would get in the save editions. It's a thicker. It's very durable. But then and you guys remember this. All of you remember this. What season 4 and 5 came out in like 2008 and 2009. Way after those initial episodes, the initial 80 episodes they put out on DVD and everything came out. And that basically, they were, at that time, were not very committing to doing more past that. They just wanted to release it. And then when they came out and announced movies 3 through 6, they said, we don't have more of the series, but we do have more movies. And that was that's exactly what they said when they debuted movies 3 through 6. And then we got those, correct me if I'm wrong, over the span of 3 weeks per movie. I think we got The Last Wizard of the Century, then I think 3 weeks later Captured in Her Eyes, and so on for a few weeks, and then after that it was dead in the water, and then Funimation just held the license during that period.
Well, like we said before in previous podcasts, where Funimation, from according to the people there, proud Japanese man, couldn't admit mistakes, and when he made the mistake and killed the series, pretty much from doing the way that they distributed it, instead of trying to fix it, let it die, because Conan did very well. It just wasn't worth the premium IP price that it cost, but it did very well. It just wasn't doing Dragon Ball numbers. And it probably could have done better, probably bad timing for the series in general. Like, we can all admit that maybe. But it was also just poor distribution, and it had a chance to do better. One thing Dwall might not know, so it is good to mention, and also we probably have a lot of new people who might come in for this podcast with the resurgence and other stuff like that, is Gosho made those names, if you didn't know. Jimmy Kudo, Richard Moore.
I heard about that.
Yeah. And that shuts a lot of people up when they get really mad for some other reason. Like when they hate the names, you tell them, they shut up. Like Jodie Foster, she was created with the same naming scheme. Not Jodie Foster, Jodie Starling, sorry. Because she came from Jodie Foster and her biggest role, Charisse Starling. Jimmy Kudo and Shinichi Kudo both mean one truth. Rachel Moore literally directly translates to Ran Mori. And Richard Moore, he's a dick, Richard. And then Maori from Moore, or Mori, however you want to say it. So I do like the English names, and I do like the adult Jimmy speaking in his head, but I can get over that. The show to me has always been like, it needs to be in English. Otherwise, it just doesn't hit right to me. So,
well, and that's where we get into what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, and I think in total, though, it's for people who think it's a hard sell. Understand, this series has not had a fair release or a fair shake or fair promotion. Really, the whole time it's been here. I mean,
20 years.
Crunchyroll, yeah, it's had it in bits and pieces. Viz Media has made a wonderful commitment to it in terms of the manga and what they're doing. Crunchyroll's done a really great job in terms of what they've done on the sub, but those are a couple of key pieces. And not everybody wants to listen to it in Japanese. I'm fine with it because I've watched over 1,000 episodes in Japanese. I'm cool with it. I'm all right with that. But would I prefer to watch it in English? Yeah, there's a reason I haven't watched the new movies that have come out, because I'm waiting for them to come out here, and I don't want to have it spoiled. It's my English is my first language. It's kind of how I prefer to watch things if I can, So,
I remember where I was going with that. By the way, it was because they had those licenses. Like I said, they had the license to the series and licenses to the movies. And they had more licenses to the episodes. Like, they could finish season 5, and they could do season 6. That just wasn't worth the money, and they wanted to just keep making money. That's why they held the license for so long. They wanted to make the money back from what they put in, and they didn't want to put in anymore. But it was cheaper to do the movies than it was to continually do more of the seasons. And they had the licenses to those movies, and that's why they did them. They could have easily, if they had more, he would have gotten a movie 7 or a movie 8, but they didn't have them. Because the movie's tied to like how many episodes were in the season, and that's the movies that they had. Or like, because like when you insert the movie number into like the episode numbers and stuff like that.
And I think too, even when it came back, like after that. Now I had heard about, before these movies came out, somebody had confided in me about this. Like, it was 6 months after Funimation lost the license. Like, I still can't say who told me, but I knew about the movies coming, and then the person dropped the bombshell on me that they were even looking at scripts for the series, which I was really shocked about. I don't think that's what ended up coming to be with Masius. I think maybe those plans got scrapped, or it was a misunderstanding that maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe they was talking about what ended up coming with episode 1, and they mistaked it as an episode. But
maybe it could have just been because of COVID, to be honest, because a lot of plans fell through. Yeah,
it could be, and then all of a sudden, I had to sit on that for like a year and a half, and then here comes Zero the Enforcer. But even that, now let's go back to in the last 5 years where all this kind of comes together with Zero the Enforcer. They already had Sunflowers of Inferno recorded, why not lead with your latest recording? And then even the promotion on that, again, I think it was Anime Expo, same sort of setting that we're getting every year now, and it just, again, and then also the what was it? Zero the Enforcer sold out in like 5 minutes because they only had 100 seats.
Yeah, well, from my understanding, why they and to me, I don't know how much of movie 19 they had done, or if that was really done first, or anything like that. But like how we're all aware here that I had I've seen the movie before the and I have the has the ADR noises and other stuff in it and dialogue changes that weren't in the Blu-ray releases. And from my understanding of it, I don't know how much of movie 19 could have been done, if at all, because just of how undercooked that was. Like I said, I don't know, because I didn't see movie 19 at that time. I only saw Zero the Enforcer, but it is interesting that if that was recorded first, why not lead with that? I do agree with that. It's just why lead with something a little bit more botchy?
And it just, again, the promotion really wasn't there from TMS when this came over and they were doing this. Now, there was excitement because there was a big crowd, obviously, with Discotheque, and people that were fans of the Lupin series, I think, gravitated towards oh, we're getting some Case Closed, and then there were longtime fans that were happy to buy the physical Blu-rays and do some of that, but the promotion still wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And then, and I'm summarizing all this because I want everybody, everybody has their thoughts on this, but and then we get to Macias, and that was just a horribly promoted product. I mean, literally, they didn't announce anything on their Twitter page for the first 2 or 3 days that was out. I don't think it ever broke into the top, anime streaming, anything on that. And there were some, I mean, we all acknowledge, and I have all the respect for that group. I mean, obviously, I interviewed Kia Burns, when we talked about, how much pride she took in the product, and I think a lot of them took pride in the product. But I think at the same time, there wasn't a lot of promotion behind it, and I think we can all agree all of them sounded, much better, I think, at the end of that run than they did at the beginning. I would have been interested to see more episodes with them, because if you look at the last 20 episodes they recorded versus the first 20, there's a drastic improvement in my mind.
I was watching some the other day, kind of in the middle more of the series, and I mean, I was just listening to some the music in the background and trying to hear it as a full product, and even that stuff sounded off. It didn't sound like they had all the sound effects, or that they had all of the music, or it did. There was some things that sounded a bit off that I didn't notice the first time watching it, because I only watched everything once originally.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't.
I put that on the ADR people. I put that on the ADR people.
Yeah, I'm not gonna blame voice acting for that.
I think it's a case of the talent put in the effort. Mm-hmm. But there was no support. There was no support for that effort, really, because you can have all the effort you want. You can put in your 100% effort, but if the people behind you to give you that push doesn't give you the support that you need, then what's that effort really going towards?
I mean, like I said a little bit earlier, and I'll add a little more context in here. So it was just okay, well, TMS wanted very verbatim scripts, and they had their hands on. I think their hands fell off near the end, maybe for the better. But it was also, they went in with, they wanted to bring in some LA voice actors. They brought in Wendy Lee for Conan. They brought in Xander Mobus for Richard, and
Griffin Burns came back. He came back for Shinichi.
Yeah. And Rachel's a voice actor, or Ron. Or maybe she came back. I don't know. I just know
she did. Christina V. Yeah, it was Christina V, Griffin Burns, Xander Mobus, and Wendy Lee. So those four reprised their roles. Everybody else,
recasted.
Got the recasts.
And so they wanted their hands in it deeply, because if they didn't, they would have just, whatever their test was going to be was that. But they definitely washed their hands of it before the Rad AF Richard, or Kogoro, or whatever you want to call him, moment. I think that's definitely right around the time that they definitely washed their hands, because I don't think they would have let that go through unless they really gave him faith. But I don't think so. I think by that time they knew that they were dropping it and moving on to something else. But who can say?
Yeah, the success. I think initially when it wasn't hitting the numbers they wanted it to hit, I think there was some doom and gloom. I think if it had done well, they would have probably continued it, at least moving forward. I did argue with a lot of people on my page that were like, "Oh, I think they're going to go back to the beginning." I'm like, even if it's really successful, I don't see them going back to the beginning. I see them just trying to catch up with where they're at because they started in such a weird
not with
spot,
them. If we ever lived in a reality where that was the case, they stuck with them because they could pump out, right? I definitely 110% believe if they ever did go back to kind of like patch up and add some more, they would have went with a different studio because their main cast was already done with somebody else, and they probably would have been like, okay, let's say the children and stuff like that, like we can take them and like we did with the VA voice actors and add them in if we really wanted to, or get good matches or something. But I think that was their plan on why they let those 3 to 4. I don't really count Griffin Burns all that much because he didn't have a big presence. But I definitely think that they wanted to have that control where they could rip it away from them if they ever had to, but keep the product if they wanted it. I don't think they wanted it, and I think that's why it went to Tubi. It was just because it was just let's make.
And it never went to Crunchyroll.
It
never went to Crunchyroll either, which is I think that ruins some continuity in terms of the
English dub
part of it. So my point in all of I've said so far is the series really hasn't been promotion behind it in 20 years since Funimation was really pushing it in the beginning.
And even then when they were pushing it back then, like after a while, then they stopped pushing it. Like halfway through the run, they just stopped completely. And you got to remember, I can remember this vividly. Case Closed was in the middle of some heavy hitters, like right in the middle of Lupin the Third and Inuyasha. Like right there, that was just a death sentence right there, because it's like Lupin got off the ground like immediately, and then Inuyasha, there's no, we can be here all day talking about that. So I mean, it was already like dead in the water there. Like you would have to really pump out like a lot of promotion to say, hey, this show belongs in between these two. And they started with that, but then after a while, I think maybe around episodes 29, 30, maybe even a little bit more than that, it was kind of like, we're just not really gonna do that.
Tell me if you agree with me, D-Wall. By mid 05, they were not pushing it at all. Like by mid 05.
They pushed it to 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's usually the what you want to quote on call the death sentence.
Yeah. Like it was I can still remember this. Like I remember getting up at 5 o'clock for school, and it was on right after Lupin, but Lupin, that was a replay.
Yeah.
That was a replay of the Lupin episode they aired at 1 o'clock in the morning earlier on. So,
and I feel the reason why they did that was to get the Case Closed watchers to watch Lupin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, same kind of category,
Yeah, they've been tied together for so long. That's why they had a movie together and a TV special.
Which both got dubbed.
Yeah, they both got dubbed.
Which the one thing I liked about that is Richard, I don't know if D-Wall knows this, that was recorded with Richard Ipcar's studio that records Lupin the Third, and they had the penning abilities, so that's why it sounds a lot more.
I think I have the movie. I think I have the movie physical copy. I don't have the TV.
Okay.
I've been wanting to get that.
I don't have.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get that for a while.
Either on Blu-ray.
Yeah, but now that we have all that context out of the way, now we get to the big news, which a few days ago, for those of you who don't know, even though I'm pretty sure if you are listening to this now, you probably already know that they're bringing Detective Conan, not Case Closed, but Detective Conan to Crunchyroll and Netflix for the first time. on Netflix, which is, and I went to the site just about 5 minutes ago, and it says Detective Conan. It doesn't say Case Closed. It says Detective Conan with the same logo that's on the promotional ad. That's not final yet.
Yeah.
But
to be honest, when I saw that news, like when I saw the Black Iron Submarine movie be promoted as Detective Conan, I was 100% sure that they were just dropping the dub and just going directly like, okay, we're done with the dub. You just watch it sub. Here's Detective Conan. Case closed. There's no more.
Yeah, but it looks like that's not going to happen though.
And I really wonder like how much of that Case Closed stuff will linger, because like I told everyone else, you weren't here at the time, Dwall, but like I went to an anime con. God, I don't know when. I dropped over just under $500, I think, in total, on Case Closed merch. It was brand new, and it was marketed as Case Closed, not Detective Conan. And that was wild to see. And I just really wonder how much of it they're really going to drop. Like, will we never hear the word Case Closed again?
I mean, on Crunchyroll, they still have it under Case Closed Detective Conan right now.
Yeah, so
they'll drop it because the manga will be the reason the name lives on here, right? But like, you know, in terms of branding and what they do, I don't think so.
I mean, I miss the times of like everyone hating the word Case Closed or whatever. Or Conan never says one truth prevails. Like, that's not a thing. And then Gosho had Conan in one random episode in Japanese say one truth prevails in Japanese instead of saying there's only one truth. And I think that was one sly way to tell everyone to shut the hell up. But
Gosho's kind of, you know, when he wants to get his point across, he knows how to get his point across. I will give him that.
And I love him for it, because
like him saying recently, I saw on Facebook, he says, "Oh, I have the script for the final manga done already, but it might change."
I mean,
yeah, of course it might change. Of course it might change. You said that 10 years ago.
I mean, listen, I can't stand this man when he sits and goes, "Oh, the show is going to end by, I'm going to retire at the same age of Dr. Agasa." Dr. Agasa's 52. How old are you? All right.
You're like 60 something?
And it's funny because I really feel for him, because when he put that much love into creating all those names and giving all those names meaning, and then everyone pretty much like shits on him. It has to hurt him, especially because American TV is his favorite thing. And it's I bet you he sat up in his living room watching Case Closed in English and was just, man, I like this. And it's sad.
Yeah. Well, he's got to be happy about the fact that
it's coming back. Oh yeah, because it's still
coming
English.
back in.
It's just not westernized. But hopefully TMS releases their grip a bit on this dub. I mean, probably not, but it'd be nice.
I did want to ask JoeB, obviously with what's going on with everything in India, I think there's a lot of things that are related in terms of what's going on over there and what's coming over here. Do you feel that way? And if you see any overlap just from, obviously living that firsthand account, what would you make of that?
Oh yeah, like TMS might be like using a strategy of selective episodes, because that's the same thing we saw in India. I think that's the same thing in the Middle East as well. They don't have like all the episodes dubbed in Arabic. So the same thing's happening in the US too now. So every country is getting a selective batch of episodes dubbed for some reason. And also the Netflix thing, Netflix round of things. Like Netflix is getting the rights almost everywhere right now, like India, Singapore.
And I believe we will get the movies here. Speaking of which, just the dubbed ones, probably dual released, but
I think the movies might be released in the campaign. Like once the movie finishes on YouTube, they'll be like, if you want to get it, you can get it on streaming, like on VOD, on Amazon Prime, on other places that you can rent and purchase. Because that's a great strategy. Like after premiering the movie, if you want to own it, like you can get it right there.
My interesting thing is, and is if you go to the campaign website, right? And they talk about doing all the movies and whatnot. I'm like, okay, are they dubbed? Are they not dubbed? Whatnot? But what is really weird on there to me is I do think they'll have dubbed versions of at least the ones that are dubbed this far. And they say for the first time ever seen in English. We've seen Countdown in Heaven in English, dubbed and subbed.
We've seen all the first 6 movies dubbed.
But captured in her not captured in her eyes. What I just said, Countdown to Heaven is on that campaign website with the text saying never before seen in English. So I'm like, are we getting a brand new redub of
You're gonna have to
Countdown
send
to
me
Heaven?
that. You're gonna have to send me that website. I need to look at that. I hadn't seen that yet.
And that's interesting because they only show like 3 or 4 movies on there. Right? Like Zero the Enforcer.
Oh wait, I think I might have seen it.
Yeah, Zero the Enforcer.
I'll be honest.
Nightmare.
I think they just happened to pick those 3. I don't think they were referring to movie 5 directly with Countdown to Heaven. I think it just happened to be one of the pictures that was on there to show because it's going to be one of the first releases. So I think that's why
it's the last release up there. They have like 3 or 4 releases to go through, and it's the last one on there. I somewhat sit in the boat with it being a big Black organization movie. I do think it's getting a redub.
I do too.
Which
I agree with you.
Which makes me think: are they going to redub the other movies too?
I'm gonna put it this way: if they start doing, which, like I said, I know that they have dubbed 18, which I still don't know why we don't have that yet. It took us forever to get 24 since I knew about that, but they've dubbed movies 18 through 25, I think, and they're definitely dubbing 26. Let's all be real. But if they go back and let's say they dub 17, 16, 15, 14, like the movies that haven't been dubbed yet, and they start going all the way backwards, yes, they're going to, especially if they're already redubbing 5. But I get that Countdown to Heaven, the Black organization movie, it's worthy of a redub above all else. But I mean, if you're going backwards and you are also redubbing that movie, I can't see why not. Because then eventually they can sell full releases, a whole collection and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it'd be very weird to omit the first few movies. It'd be different if like Funimation dubbed like a later movie or something. I don't know. It's just really weird to like at that point, like, oh, you gotta dub the first movie ever. And then it's like, oh, we're dubbing 5 because of Black organization. Why not just fill in the gap? It's so much easier. And this, like I said, this is why Funimation did what they did. It's so much easier to continue doing the movies you have the licenses to than it is to continue doing episodes that you have licenses to. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Especially if you're already going back and you're dubbing like movie 1. Like if you're not starting where Funimation left off, there is zero reason to say, well, if you're going back to dub that, why not dub the first movie, the second movie? I just don't think that makes sense. Now, is movie 1 going to be the last thing we see? You know, that's a whole different story, but like in the order of which they want to tackle those. But they definitely want to erase the Funimation from everyone's brain. So I don't think that they want people to go look up English Detective Conan movie 1 and then people are watching the Funimation version and then being like, I don't know how I feel about this because their names are westernized and jump out. They don't want that. They want people to see the other one and be like, oh, hey, this is cool. Let's see what else they got. So I do think...
I was going to say the Funimation one will always have a place just because it was circulating for so many years. But tell me if you guys disagree with this. I think they will go back and dub over those movies because of the commitment they have made to not call it Case Closed and to call it Detective Conan.
And that's because of easier in the search bar, even though a lot of people would put Detective Conan in the tags, so it'd still come up if you searched it. But yeah, no, I 110% agree. I'm one of the people who would probably call it Case Closed till I die.
Yeah.
I might still call it Detective Conan more just because that's what everyone's going to know it as. But Funimation, the dub will always have a special place in my heart, even if I that's how I would prefer to finish watching the show. In my opinion, I would give it back to Funimation. I don't care if it did well. I'm in Gosho's boat. It was. I would want to finish it that way. But I do believe Conan should have just been watched in English. That's how I enjoy it the most, even though I'm in the thousands as well.
And the thing is, now that Funimation is absorbed into Crunchyroll,
oh yeah,
that makes this the possibilities endless on what they could honestly do if this is actually successful.
Which I actually know some of the stuff about the merger. I can't really talk about it on here. I have talked about it in private, but I know some people who work at Funimation, and multiple people, I'll say, and some of them have told me about like the mergers and how that works between Funimation and Crunchyroll, and what they're allowed to do anymore, what they're not allowed to do anymore, and so on. So,
but I mean, in sense that because if what Professor C said is true, and they want to kind of scrub over the Case Closed name in terms of movies and previous releases and stuff, does that mean at some point, not now, but maybe next year, if this goes well, they redo the episodes that were already dubbed, not going through like at past when Funimation stopped, but the ones that Funimation dubbed already. Are they going to go back and redo those and then re-release them as Detective Conan instead of Case Closed?
Well, D-Wall, I'm going to tell you this. Hold on, D-Wall, I'm going to tell you this. In this batch, we are going to see episodes that Funimation already did.
Yes.
I promise.
Yeah. Which is why I said what I said. Which is why I said what I said. If they're going to go ahead and redub those, then it would make sense at some point to just do the whole thing.
Well, if
and they just scrub that out, even though, I still have my DVD set, but, re-release it as, even if it's just digital, just re-release the episodes as Detective Conan instead of Case Closed. Because if you're trying to get rid of that name in terms of video stuff and not the manga, because you already printed everything, then it would make sense to just go ahead and do all of those.
Well, I can answer that question very easily, actually. It really depends fully how they're going about this. We have two circulating rumors on how this is going to release, whether it's just the manga case files or if it's like extra selective, where if a manga case is not that important, or like you could live without it, that they'll skip it. Currently, right now, it looks like the selective, if they do take the selective approach, like episode 2 won't be there, which I thought made no sense to me. But I mean, I guess you could skip it. It was inferred that he was moving with Richard Moore, and you can kind of like, or Kogoro, and you can kind of like, oh, well, I mean, it was already inferred in the last episode that they were moving in. You didn't need to see him actually become part of the family. So like you could exclude that, but like on the episode, there's 2 episode things that were going around. One was deemed as fake, and the other one was deemed as like if they did the selective episodes that they did on Hulu in Japan, where they're just like, oh, they're selective episodes that were perfectly curated. And if they follow that list, then episode 2 won't be there. Yeah. But they could also be like,
that one had like episode 1, episode 5. So that's Shinkansen Express, the game company, and then it jumped all the way to the blind spot.
Yeah, and then from the guy's leak, it was missing like one. The introduction of Apera, it was missing the game Gone Bad, or the
was
computer
the fake.
case. That's what I said. That was the fake. That's what I'm saying. That was the fake one, and then the other one that people were trying to relate to would be the selective episode list that you were talking about. The one that Hulu had. So it's very interesting, but I think what they're going to do is they could take that selective list and maybe start adding in ones later. Like they could add in episode 2 if they wanted to, and give that to us and be like a new version of it that rolls out. But I also can see them doing like, okay, hey, these are the streaming episodes, and if they ever want to go back and add them into like the DVD release as like with new episodes never before seen, but they're still manga-based episodes. They're just ones that you didn't need to kind of fill out a season's worth or something. Because I do think these seasons will look a lot shorter, and yeah, you can still do those on DVD box sets, but some people like to see a little bit of a higher number on there. And it wouldn't be that expensive to say, hey, let's do 2 episodes from season 1, another 2 from season 2, or whatever, and like when you bolster them all together in a couple season box set or something, it looks a little bit more meatier. So I could see them adding them in there or something. But And it could also just be just strictly when they say selective, maybe this is the new version of the selective line, and that will roll out everywhere, and it'll be just strictly all the canon cases, no exclusions. It'll be very interesting to see. But when they say selectively curated, and if it's not every canon case, it starts to worry me again. Not as bad as Funimation, but it's just like you can't keep teetering that seesaw. Like that's not, you got to give this a chance to thrive. And I will forever. And I remember because I made so many friends around this time that became Conan fans in this era, and you saw it also pick up on Netflix, even though Netflix had random episodes of a certain season that was not the current season. I don't know what it was, and it was just a few episodes that they had on there, and then Crunchyroll obviously had it. It was the Scarlet arc, and I actually have a friend that I call Scarlet Buddy, like as like that's like my nickname for her. But she and we call each other that, and we became friends at this time. But at this time is when Conan had the biggest resurgence it's ever had in the United States, and it's when Crunchyroll picked it up, and it was the Scarlet arc. That was huge on Crunchyroll. Conan gained a 4.9 to a 5-star rating, and it never dipped lower than that. And it was on Netflix's higher charts at the time. It had a 5-star rating on Netflix, which was it. If you get a 5-star rating on Netflix, you're doing pretty good. And those were just really random episodes. Like that to me, how that got 5 stars on there had to be the Conan fans coming to Netflix from Crunchyroll that gave Crunchyroll the rating that it had to give Netflix that rating. That's just like, oh, it's just more Conan. That's lower episode count than what's on Crunchyroll, so that's exciting. And I think that's the biggest resurgence that they had in the time, and started seeing more Conan merch, even though it was imported. And then couple years fast forward, we were seeing actual case closed merch in cons that were actually labeled case closed, which is wild. And then I blew almost $500 on that, but it's definitely the time to look at. That's definitely the time to look at. Yeah. I mean, they're all still in the boxes, so I kind of regret the purchase, but I'm not going to get into that. I think it was a good steal for how much I got. Like if you get one good figure, which I have a lot of the good figures too, you're dropping 30 to $70 on it. Or if you want that Bourbon and Akai one that I don't have that I want, that's over $200. Yeah, but I mean, I got a lot of figures like for $500. It was like maybe 15 or more, or way more than that. It was a whole line, the Q Posket line, and then a couple other things. But you can count how many figures they have. They don't even have them all on there, but every figure had 2 variants, and then Conan had like 4 or 6 or something. He had a lot, but I mean, I get it. He's the main character, so.
This first one is called Detective Conan versus the Black Organization. The one thing I wonder if they're going to do like a part 1, part 2, part 3, because I don't see a world where they're doing all.
No, no. And I can explain this to you with the help of JoeB as well. Was what happened there is, unless they change what they did with the other curated stuff that they did with Hulu Japan, which sponsors the movies, so I mean they have a close deal too. I think that they would give them the best version of anything. Is they dubbed their first part of their curated episodes Black Organization, Conan versus Black Organization, which is the same name here. Yeah. Which, so in theory, part 2 should be labeled part Sherry.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that would happen unless they're doing what I said is a possibility where they roll out everything new to Hulu, everything new to Crunchyroll and Netflix, and change some things where like they add back in episode 2 into the Versus organization. And then maybe there's room to add in other things that way. But otherwise, if they're following what they did with Hulu Japan, no, it's just going to be the part 2 is going to be called part Sherry.
I think it'll be. I think it'll be different. I think it'll be different here. I really do. I think it's going to be completely.
I mean, we don't have to wait long, and we can totally do another episode, giving our thoughts after we watch all the episodes, which we're probably all going to watch within 1 or 2 days anyway. So
yeah, I'm going to need to redo my subscription for that.
I think this batch, like, we'll know for sure, like, what's going to be the next batch after this first batch comes out, because the Hulu Japan batch had like about 20 to 25 episodes. So if this has at least 20 episodes, then we know that we're gonna get maybe a Sherry batch or something. But the article did say that this is gonna be the first batch, so that means there are gonna be more.
Yeah.
They definitely at least recorded whatever's been curated in or at least have already licensed out to give these people these job roles to go do it. Out whatever's been curated or whatever, because I do think that they have faith in it, and I do think what you have to understand is Conan is popular now out here.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at the numbers like on TMS's post on Twitter, and that has like 500 likes. I went back and looked at all of the other posts, and they all have like 250, 300. Even the Zero the Enforcer back in the day only has like 75, and Tubi has like 250. So this is the biggest fan reception of any Conan dub announcement in the past 10 years.
Yeah, no, I mean even like the one that like like I said, the movies never get a tweet, and if they do, it's only one. And it's so funny when
60,000 views on the Crunchyroll tweet from 8 hours ago, 550 likes.
And it's funny where like they don't ever talk about Case Closed, then randomly one night they're like Rand says goodnight or whatever, and we're like everyone in the comments like more English dubs, please, like you never talk about Case Closed and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see, and I hope that they market it well. I mean, if they just keep doing these tweets, that's not enough. And
even the TMS one got the Crunchyroll one got more views than the TMS one.
Yeah,
because the Crunchyroll got 69,000. The TMS one right now is at 38,000. But it's still like that's still big.
I think it's because also Crunchyroll will like they have like their own social media page in those articles, like in a sense of they'll write about anything. They'll like Bayonetta 3, like stuff like that. Like it's a video game. It's not even going to be on Crunchyroll. Why the hell are you making a post about it on your on your website? So I mean, it's just stuff like that where I just think like it's just big culture things that people like who like anime would like, and I think that has such a big reach on there where anyone can click on it, or some people just don't even know what Conan is and they're going to click on it like, well, is this a new anime or whatever and stuff like that. And with it already having a 4.9, never really dipping below that to a 5-star rating, people clearly like it. And I think like that. And then you just have the people who didn't want to watch it anymore after it stopped being English. I stopped for over 6 months, and I tried 3 times trying to get into it, and I couldn't. And yes, I gracefully got to the thousands, but it was just like, I get how people would just drop off and they see, oh, it's in English. Like, you don't know how many people would just spring to that. And then you have people who never heard of it, sounded interesting, but didn't care about the Japanese and never tried it. And now it's in English, so they want to try it. And I think this is going to be very successful for them. The movies that they dubbed were successful. Criminal Hanzawa was successful with Netflix. Like when they sold the stuff on Right Stuff, that sold well. And even when Funimation were pushing the final numbers to try to clear inventory when they, with all the box sets that they had and stuff like that, those were selling well when Funimation stuff expired. And TMS clearly knew that Funimation was expiring. They probably had a conversation with them or something, because they jumped on that ball quick. The second it expired, they were tweeting. And there was even an unreleased commercial that accidentally went down and never went up again.
Oh wait, yeah, the one with the TV.
Mm-hmm. And that's when their license expired, and they jumped on it and they put that out too soon. I guess someone lost their job. I don't think that was supposed to go up, and I think it gave very false premise, because I think it was like a false promo in the sense of I think they were trying to cater to the Case Closed fans originally, and then TMS like, this is not what we want, because like if you look at it, it felt like I was watching an Adult Swim first look at Case Closed again. And I don't think that's what they wanted. I think that was like a false promo that they recorded, didn't like, and never planned on airing, or maybe got bad backlash real quick when it went up. saying maybe it felt too samey or something, because it went down almost instantly from going up, and I just find that very interesting. That I
gotta point this out. I gotta point this out too. That and I want to say I'm sorry to the Facebook fans that have been commenting, but TMS has absolutely no thought, intention, anything whatsoever to pick up where Funimation left off, because they're trying to basically erase that from existence and start anew.
That's why I said
since the movies came out.
Yeah, that's why I said I think that at some point they're probably going to dub over what's already been done and then just stop it there.
And I do
and of course, obviously, they're going to dub Hybera's debut and the 2 episodes after that episode and the 1 episode before she shows up, obviously, because it's going to be part of the collection. But I think at some point they're going to go back and dub over all those Funimation episodes that were already dubbed before to get rid of them.
See, I don't think so. I think what they're going to do is dub these selective episodes, however they want to do them, whether it's all canon cases or the Japan Hulu thing. But I do believe when they start making box sets, if they do add in any episodes, they'll probably be canon only. I don't think they're going to go and dub all 5 to erase them, or 4.5 to erase them. I don't think that's going to be the case. And I already have a contingency plan in place for this. If I want to watch the first 5 seasons in English, I'll just boot up the Funimation dub. But I'm going to own this whole Conan series that's coming out in English, physically and digitally. And on my digital version, I am literally in that same folder. I am just going to add the Funimation episodes that are canon, at least, to fill out those gaps. So you can still watch it in English, kind of like what they did for that Singapore dub that they recovered, where you guys put in some of Jimmy's voice lines to kind of fill in the gaps that were missing from lost audio. But
Dwall, do you know about that? I don't know if you and I talked about how that went down.
You might have, but it might have been a while ago.
What happened on the disc that Joe Murray gave me with the first 3 episodes, there was something called disc rot that was happening to it.
It's from oxidization of the air.
Yeah, and so I could get all of episode 1, but when I went to episode 2, the first, I think 45 or 50, maybe the first minute and a half actually, I could not get this thing to, I could not get the information from it. So I literally had to take the Funimation line, the Funimation voice for Conan and, all that, and put it in there. And then, when it picks up at the detective's office, that's when it's back to the Singapore dub.
And it wasn't that...
I was able to recover that.
Surprisingly, it was not that jarring.
And when I showed Joe Murray that, when Joe Murray saw that, he goes, I couldn't even tell.
I could, but that's because I'm such a Jerry Jewell stan.
If that's fair. That's fair.
I really wonder what they're going to do with this. I don't think they will. If you look at everything, they plan on not redubbing the movies they already put out, which I don't think they will. I really want them to give the voice back, the adult voice back. I really want it, and I don't think they're going to do it.
No.
But
I know Kevin's been angling. He wants to come back.
Wasn't he in one of the movies, Fist of Blue Sapphire?
Fist of Blue Sapphire, he was the antagonist.
Yeah. But he was fantastic. He went in though with the intention of asking to be Harley.
Mm-hmm.
He did ask, and they said we've already cast it back.
Could you imagine?
We already cast it.
I know I interviewed him, but could you imagine if like for this series and then going forward, where they're just like, let's say this guy isn't a part of it anymore or anything like that, and they gave it to him? I think it would be wild.
I mean, and like I said, he's done Bang Zoom work before anyway. Oh
yeah.
So it's not like
Oh, I guarantee you, if Funimation was not Funimation, if TMS with their clawy hands didn't pay too much attention to the casting and what they've done before, I truly believe he could have gotten away with it. I know they wanted certain voices and certain sounds, but
well, I mean, he still could because I mean, yeah, Cause how long ago did you say they said that they casted him already? How long was that? How long ago was that?
Like 4 or 5 years when they did the
2020, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, who's to say that? Because he's going to have to pop up in one of these collections at some point.
I think
he's going to have to pop up in the movies anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Hansen is gonna pop up again in like the Black Iron Submarine movie because he played Chiba in Funimation and then Rum in The Darkest Nightmare. So he's gonna show up. So if we're getting some Funimation cast, we should get more.
Yeah, what, it would be a very cute Easter egg because, like I said, I won't tell you who specifically this one came from, but I've talked about it privately before. But like how they were told, the Funimation voice actors when they acquired into Crunchyroll, was they were not allowed to do any past voice work that did not of their characters. So like, for example, like you couldn't have I'm going to use one person I didn't talk to kind of clear their name on it. So let's say Jerry Jewell. It wasn't Jerry Jewell, but I'm going to say it was, just so I don't say who actually it was. Like, he couldn't go around and do Jimmy Kudo's voice and say random things anymore. Stuff like that. Like, they would say, hey, anything that we're not currently doing anymore, you can't do. So case closed, off the table. And so I think like with them now being able to touch case closed, they probably can't do those renditions of those characters anymore, but they could do the new stuff. And I do think we could maybe even see like with these actors being infused with Funimation, Crunchyroll. I understand Bing Zoom's a little different and they have a tighter hit with Netflix, but they reached down, they let Kevin McConnelly come and do what was that guy's name in Blue Sapphire that he did?
Leon Lowe.
Yeah, and he did him. So I could see in a perfect world where we might even see cute little Easter eggs in the show of these original voice actors coming back and doing, hear off their roles. I do think if any voice actor ever comes back to reprise their role, I do believe it's Harley Hartwell. And if that ever happens, it would be him.
Just he's pushing it so hard too, and he's been asking for the role. So
people have been asking him about that.
He'll be right there.
People have been asking him about that for years.
Oh yeah.
Even when we interviewed him, me and C interviewed him like 10 years ago. He even said people were still asking him about the role and still know him from that role specifically. And it's like, yeah, if he has a shot, get him back in there.
Yeah,
let him do it one more time. By the way, speaking of Kevin M. Connolly, did y'all see those new prints that he came out with for his conventions with Harley Hartwell? And it's so cool. If you haven't seen it, you got to go to his page and see it. It's badass.
I interviewed him like 1 or 2 years ago. So I mean, I could probably have that a little bit of a fresher take on him with his pushing, and it's strong. And I even messaged him for a couple weeks beyond that podcast and through that con when I was showing him all the stuff, and I talked about trying to get him the Harley, one of the Harley merches of Case Closed, and we talked, that never fully fell through with doing that, and but it doesn't matter. But we talked even a little bit after that, but I do think that like you might be able to see cute little Easter eggs of maybe like Jerry Jewell, because I don't think he'll be Jimmy, obviously, or Shinichi. That's not going to happen. But I do think that, maybe he can be a random character here and there, and you might hear it as an old Case Closed friend and be like, "Oh my God, it's him."
He should play the dad. Do
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've seen Booker has a voice actor already.
Yeah, but that'd be cool. Like, that'd be cool if you have Griffin Burns and then you have Jerry Jewell as kind of the Easter egg as the dad.
But he doesn't. Cool. Oh yeah, Mario movie him. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say Scooby Doo because that's what happened with what's his name? Shaggy's voice actor played his dad in the last series.
But it was only one voice scene, so I think that they could totally do it. And also, they're not gonna get everyone back from that trial episode. I don't think. So I totally think like it's possible, and that would be really cool. But the only two people that I know that are like, I do think the original voice actor Rachel liked to do her when I uncovered that promo video that they did for Case Closed that I showed you guys, and she was on set with somebody and they were talking about like everything you need to know, Case Closed kind of thing, like Case Closed 101. I believe that she even said in that she really loved it, but she of course has to say that because she's on a thing that she's paid to go record. But I know Jerry Jewell did say a lot that if there were 3 characters he could ever reprise his role in, I don't remember who the other 2 were because it didn't matter to me. But Jimmy was one of them. Jimmy meant a lot to him. So I mean, I think if someone said, "Would you like to do something Case Closed?" I think he would, but I don't know if he'd gun ho to it without.
I think it would be easier if he did the movies.
Oh well, yeah, because it would have been like, I'm still part of this. Yes, I mean, and he already loved it, but I don't know. It'd be very interesting, but I do think Harley will push, especially if you tell him about, because he didn't know about the Masias group thing, right? And when
he knew about it late, and by the time he started, time he started making contact with them, I think they were already done. Because I was like, "Hey man, you should reach out. Here's their website. Here's their email." And he's like, "Okay, I'll reach out." Yeah, but by then they were done.
That's what I'm saying. Before we had a clearer understanding of where they were, like when we talked and stuff like that, like he was like, let's shoot us all the information, and obviously we just what happened there. But I do think he will push for it if you tell him, and I do think we should all tell him.
I think because and here's the thing, I think there's time for him to do it because they already released the schedule for what these releases are going to be. So the 3rd, which is this Thursday, is they're going to start putting out the curated episodes
versus Black Order, which is by the way, before I'm trying not to go too off subject here, but I do want to give a shout out to Jason Kessler from the Masias group. I thought he did a really good Hattori Heiji. I was very impressed with his work in the role. I know he didn't get to do it very long, but I thought he did a great job. I thought he stood up, at least what Lucian Dodge did with Bang Zoom. I thought he stood up to his work very well. So I did want to shout out Jason Kessler.
And if they do all the canon episodes, or if the no immunity for the diplomat episode does get dubbed again, it'll be really funny to see everyone who didn't read the manga, because there were a few translation errors in the Funimation dub.
There's a few translation errors in a lot of the Funimation dub, but
But hey, if Moonlight Sonata gets dubbed again, it'll be the 4th English dub of Moonlight Sonata. Think of how crazy that is.
But I think what's really interesting about it is, like you had Shelly for Sherry, one voice line from Jin, but my favorite one and the most damaging one, and I don't care, it's my headcanon for the Funimation dub, and I'll take it, is when Harley or Heiji tells Jimmy or Shinichi that Jin and Vaka were the ones who shrunk him. And that is not what happened.
No.
He was literally offering him a drink, not telling him who his killers were. So, because in the game Gone Bad, or the computer company video game murder case or whatever, at the beginning of the episode, he opens up with the line of, "That's right, Harley's told me that these are the names of the people who drugged me." And I'm like, no, he didn't, but okay. And that was my headcanon, and also partly my canon until I learned that's not actually what happened.
It's a good thing that the episodes stopped after that episode. On the TV, before they did the DVDs, it stopped after that. No immunity for the diplomat second part, and then nobody saw the rest of it. It just went right back to the beginning, and it's like, well, okay. So I guess it's a good thing now, looking back on it, that they didn't do that. But he
still offered him a drink and nothing more.
Yeah. So this Thursday is the curated episodes release. And then Anime Expo on Saturday is going to be the Black Iron Submarine movie. And then the next Saturday is going to be where they start the movie releases on the TMS channel, which will start with The Darkest Nightmare. And then,
One thing I will put out there that I caught, and I don't know if you guys caught it too, for the Conan Cinema Sundays, or is it on Sunday? Saturday.
Saturday nights, I think,
and they keep it up for 7 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they replace it. I don't know if you guys caught this, and I wonder if this is what they were doing. They haven't been doing it for that long, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years tops, 2 or 2.5 years tops, something like around that. Right? They started doing Lupin movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As like, hey, watching our YouTube channel for like a week or something, and then we're going to take it down. I wonder if they were testing the grounds for this campaign, because they don't really do that much anymore.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I wonder if they were testing the grounds of what this campaign would be back then, because they washed their hands at that Mania group thing pretty early.
They did, and they didn't promote it very well. But I also notice on the site it talks about movie 20, movie 22, then movie 5, but then it says in January they will start to release the films the week after New Year's, one at a time. So I would presume 1, 2, 3. So they're going to have a break, it seems like, from August to January, at least in terms of this movie thing.
I think you got it wrong. I think what they said was we'll get a movie every Saturday till January, which is the 30th anniversary of Detective.
Yeah. Because they said 26
weeks.
26 weeks, 26 movies. And it's a countdown, because 26 weeks from that date is the 30th anniversary. And you know what's going to happen on that day? They're just going to drop fucking movie 26 and be like, hey guys, or your movie 27 or whatever at the time with the English dub. Is it something special to be like, we're here, 30th anniversary, Conan big.
Also, to anyone watching this, be sure to share the movie with anyone who's a Conan fan. Like, for the episodes, you need like a Netflix subscription or Crunchyroll subscription. This one, YouTube is free. Like, anyone can watch it. So just share it as much as you can. Share it to everyone that does it.
I've seen these movies, right? I'm going to be watching it at the live premiere.
Because this is what they need to see. Like, I don't think people understand. I don't think people understand this. They need to see engagement in these watch parties so that people know that this is what people want to see.
And I know this is cheesing the system a little bit, and whatever, do it. I always said from the beginning with the trial episode that is the most important one to buy at the time, and I said it then. I'm gonna say it again. You know, that's the one to buy. That's the one that they were checking the numbers for. And sure enough, that's what they were checking the numbers for, from what I've heard. So I was right there. But with this, they want to see who's rushing to see it. But cheese the system if you have to. Watch it from a couple different devices with different IP addresses. Like, watch it more than one. I'm sorry. Watch it once at launch. Watch it on your phone. Or if you watch them both on your phones, your phone IP address changes all the time. You can see in your about settings how often it changes. But like, watch it more than once. Watch it when it first comes out. Watch it later. That's very important to see how many people watch it while it's up. And again, kind of like the trial episode, how many people came to this premiere is important too. So from my experience with how these numbers and what they look at, also being the third best in my state for marketing in school when I took classes. Listen to me. But it's very important. They're going to be checking these numbers almost as much as they're checking the Netflix numbers, if not more, because they're going to get those numbers reported to them. Those numbers don't matter as much. They're going to know, but they're going to be like analyzing these numbers from multiple angles of time periods. When it starts, the length, maybe even like a check in the middle to see how much it's gained before the end, to see how fast the slew, how fast were these numbers? Did all of these come at the end? Did all these come in the middle? And then how many were at the premiere? So like, it is very important. Watch as many times as you can, as many devices as you can, and get those numbers up, because it's going to be important.
So here's what it says on the website. Here's what it says on the website. To commemorate the release of the episode selection and countdown to the 30th anniversary of the anime series, In January 2026, Detective Conan Cinema Saturdays campaign on YouTube will launch. The following week is a special initiative for North American fans over the course of 26 weeks. Detective Conan theatrical films, we've covered all that, but maybe I'm reading that wrong. To me, it sounds like they're going to just start from 1 in January, just by that language.
No.
Am I reading that wrong?
Yeah,
I think it's just from
30th
the date.
Yeah. January is the 30th anniversary. That's why they have a comma, and then Detective Conan Cinemas starts on YouTube and so and so.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think these three. What I think what they're trying to say is I don't think these first 3 movies that they're showing correlate at all with the actual like movie campaign.
Right.
I think all that starts, and they will probably start at movie 1 in January and go forward. But that's why I really feel like movie 5 is dubbed right now, in the sense of 1 being a Black organization movie. They want to boost that because that's what this whole first drop batch is about. And right around the adduction of the second part being Sherry's entrance, and she's in that, and it's a whole battle with her. And I think like they're gonna want that dubbed for then and there. And I think they want us to see it during this initial batch, so they'll show us 3 movies now, and then when the real campaign starts, it'll be 26 weeks, 26 movies. Go forward with your time all having a dub, hopefully, or we'll see.
Yeah,
but
from what I read it as is starting on the 12th.
Yeah.
They're going to release all the movies 1 week at a time for 26 weeks until the end of the year.
That's what I think. Yeah, announcing something now for January is not the ideal marketing strategy, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they are going to do, because I've heard this everywhere else, and I think I'm right on this. They're going to do 1 movie a week every Saturday at, I think it's 10 o'clock Eastern every Saturday night. And it's going to stay up for a week, and then they're going to replace it with another movie, and so on and so forth until the end of the year. And then right near the end of the year or something, then they're going to start announcing stuff for the 30th anniversary.
Oh, and I do think it's going to be big.
Weekly.
It's not going to be like 30th anniversary confetti poppers. I think it's going to be.
There's something massive going down next year.
Yeah,
I have a feeling.
And for us too, I don't think it's going to. And I don't mean us too subbed wise. I mean maybe like if it's the end of the series or something, that's one thing. But
I doubt that.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying like that's the only way it's for everybody. But I think it's going to be big for the dub people as well. I don't think it's going to be congratulations for the sub community. I think we're going to get something big out of it too, even if they're 2 separate things that we're getting on that date. I think that date is going to be very important for us to look at too.
Do you guys think that all these films are going to be dubbed? Because they certainly seem to be leading with that. It says in English, but it doesn't say dubbed. Do you think all these 26 films they're going to premiere will have a dub?
I don't. Actually, Night of Halloween last year, right, at Anime NYC, they did say it was the English premiere of the movie, but it was just subbed. So it could be the same thing here.
I will put it this way, and I don't know. It's kind of like how you want to read it and how you want to interpret it versus what TMS is actually going to do. Because from how I look at it is when they announced the curated episodes for us, they said in English for the first time, and it really isn't in English for the first time, but I think we're all trying to forget Funimation here. But it actually has an English dub, and I feel like then they say the exact same thing on that website for those 3 movies listed there, at least for those 3 movies. And I do think that, like I said, that movie will have an English dub, whether it's streamed English or not for the first time. I do think it'll be readily accessible very soon in English, if not. But I do think it is worded that at least those 3 movies have English dubs.
I will read what I'm looking at from the TMS website right now. It says, starting Saturday, July 12th, a new movie will premiere each week at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern, creating a countdown toward the franchise's milestone anniversary. After the YouTube premiere watch party, where fans can experience the movie together in real time, the movie will stay up for 7 days before it is replaced with a new movie each week. Here's the key line here. This will be the first time Detective Conan movies will be available on YouTube in English, including several titles debuting in North America, offering fans a rare opportunity to experience the cinematic legacy of Detective Conan like never before. So it seems like they're dubbing all of them.
It sounds like that. I
including
think if movie
the
5
ones
has a dub, then that might answer our question. If
including
Countdown to
the
Heaven
ones
has a new
that,
dub,
including the ones that they've done before, which means the Time Bomb Skyscraper's getting redubbed. That means the second movie's getting the 14th Target's getting redubbed. That means movie 7's gonna get a dub for the first time. Movie 13, which I'm really looking forward to how they do that.
Oh, man. Me too.
I'm really looking forward to how 13. They do that one.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that one was really good.
I love that movie. 13
really good.
My favorite. I love that movie. Oh,
I wouldn't be shocked. Actually, I would not be shocked if that one is part of the Sherry collection. Because
and maybe we get 2 drops pretty quickly. I mean, you have to look at the date. Look at the date that we're getting. Like I said, they said in English for the first time for the series, and that's also again not true. But it, they said dub there. I mean, they didn't say dub there, and then later they, it was kind of in their tweet post it stated as dub. So they're using the same language. I do think everything is dubbed again, but you have to look at this. I do think we might get the first 2 batches pretty close to each other. And if you look at the date, we're getting part 1, right? Conan versus Black Organization. Part 2 being part Sherry, if that's true. We could see part Sherry very closely around to... I mean, look how fast Tubi episodes went up. Very closely to the premiere date. Like, for example... what's the name of the movie? Countdown to Heaven could air, and then they could be like, make a tweet post saying, catch tonight, Countdown to Heaven, and then tomorrow, the day after, or even the day before, be like, part Cherry is now up on Netflix and Crunchyroll. Like, they can be that close to each other. I'm not saying they will be, but they could be, especially if they're dubbing it. They might want you to know who she is, but you can get enough of who she is from the intro. She, it might spoil a little bit of episodes 128 or 129 or whatever. But
I think that if anything, that'll make people give more people a reason to actually go and watch what actually happened.
Oh yeah, So I do think that will happen. I do think part Sherry will come very closely because I do know that I don't know, but my hunches from everything that I do know prior and stuff like that, and just from these lining up, like there's no way that movie 5 is not dubbed and that they're not planning to having it be a setup to part Sherry if they are going that exact Hulu route.
If you guys had to guess, and just as we sit here June 29th, 2025, how many episodes do you guys think has been recorded and is in the tank?
I think and this is why I'm afraid of Harley Hartwell not coming unless he heard from the inner workings that they were doing a Funimation, not Funimation dub, a Crunchyroll, Bang Zoom, Netflix dub, and then he somehow got hearing of it and tried to go out for the part, or them knowing that he wanted it or something. I think that they have enough episodes in the tank where if they already have an actor, I do think that they at least have through part Sherry recorded, if not more. They could have everything that was curated already from Hulu, because they probably went in saying, these are all the episodes you guys are doing, get on it. And so it's kind of hard to say because I don't know exactly every episode Hulu had. From the screenshots that we were able to find from the Wayback Machine that JoeB was able to pull up was we were able to see episode 128 and 129 and episodes 1, 2, and episode 5 from the first 2 parts. So we couldn't see the rest of it because you couldn't scroll because it's the Wayback Machine. So it's kind of hard to say.
I think it's tricky because if they're doing Black Organization and they're doing Sherry afterward, this is just speculation. Then we don't know what they're doing after that. They could completely change it and do something different than what was on Hulu. Exactly. And if that's the case, they may not have had those. They may not have those ready, and they might be either
fantastic. I was speaking more so the worst case scenario if they were following that.
Yeah, yeah. And then if that's the case, if it's the best case scenario, then if they already have speculation, they already have Black Organization done because that's this Thursday, and then they have next month's if they're doing it monthly, and it's Sherry's, then they can go in any different direction, and that's 2 months from now. So who's to say that Kevin couldn't do something in that time?
See, it's hard for me in that instance because you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as, oh, maybe they're just now recording the part Sherry. But even if that's the case, if they were doing every single canon episode or whatever, those happen before Sherry's introduction. And I do believe that they have recorded past Sherry, or maybe like they're just getting to that now, but then that has to be done because I do think they are going to be part Sherry. Because they're going to want to shove more down your throat, right? They're going to see the people who are enjoying it, getting into it, and they want to keep them hooked. So they're going to, at least part 2.
Yeah, they got to keep them hooked for 6 months.
Yeah. So I do think part 2 is going to come out very fast. And if part 2 is still part Sherry, then that's a problem. But if they are, let's say, 10, 12 episodes or something, like Netflix likes to do, then it's possible that maybe they only have 26 episodes done, and I don't know exactly how many episodes it was till Harley came in off the top of my head. Then you have some more wiggle room.
Like, and here's the other thing that we haven't thought about.
Like, he has to be DM tonight. Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing we're not thinking about is, since if this is going to be different than the Hulu version, right? Let's just go real hypothetical here. If they go different than the Hulu thing, who's to say that the Black Organization and Sherry might not be one and the same, and they might do something different next month or however long it is?
That's what makes me wonder I don't know if
because
you guys
Sherry is a big part of the Black Organization. It's like, you can split it up, but they're kind of the same still. So it's like, if you say Conan versus the Black Organization, then you have to include Sherry in that too, because she's also part of that. She was in that whole circle.
I agree and disagree, but with her being like you have to understand the first 4.5 seasons of the show were just Conan's battle, and then Sherry came in and really mixed things up, right?
Yeah.
I can see them still calling it, even if they do curate the episodes differently, that is a great breaking point to stop. This is Conan versus the Black Organization, not Conan and Sherry versus the Black Organization.
Yeah.
And I do think that they would want that to be a big hook, like, who is this mysterious girl? Blah, 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 and go into that and have it be her arc, where they could fit more episodes in.
And again, this is just, me speculate, because we don't know how many episodes they're going to release on Thursday.
Well, Dwall, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If you had to make a prediction, and I don't know if you're comfortable doing this or not, I am, but would you make a prediction what episodes you think will be in this first drop?
Well, I'm looking at the screenshot I got from one of the guys here. They sound pretty. These look pretty on the spot for me. Like the first episode, obviously, you got to have that one. You got to have 345. You got to have the reunion with the Black Organization story. That whole thing. There's a lot of them you can do though. Like there's a lot. I mean, even though in the anime it takes up like 25, maybe even not even 20% of the whole 1,000 episodes, but still that's a good healthy amount of episodes that you could realistically pick from for the first drop, and then later add things after. So I mean,
I was kind of thinking like episode almost like, and again, I'm could be completely off, but I do think those first 3 episodes, even more than the first 2, having the first 3 is really important. I could see him doing 1 through 3, then 5. I was making a list, then 13, because technically that's Hybera's sister's, first appearance technically.
Yeah.
In that one, so I think to me that would count. And then I think you have to do the the game company murder case, and then skip ahead up into 128, 129. I think the stadium case following that is really, really important to it because of just Hybera's demeanor, how she is in those episodes, like that fearfulness. I think still ties into that organization. I think those would be in it. But where I think it's going to stop is going to be after a reunion with the Black organization. I think that's because I think they're going to do a Detective Conan versus Black Org Part 1 and Part 2, because I think to do 345 and then 425 and then the Clash arc, you almost need a Part 2 and a Part 3, I think, for that, just because of how long those are. So I don't know. I think it stops after 178. Could it go to the 200s where you're at Mysterious Passenger at 231, or something like that, or something like, I could see that too. But I almost feel like 178 would be a great place to kind of stop and let the story breathe a little bit and let people get caught up on that, and then come out with like a Part 2.
And here's the thing, 345 you might be able to shove into the Sherry arc, because that episode was really more about Sherry than it was anything else, because especially at the end at the dock with Ran helping Sherry out like she did, and that being a reminder of her sister and everything. So that you could put that in with Sherry's collection if you want to. But yeah, 345 is important. But those other ones, especially the Clash arc, that whole thing itself is a collection. That was that 8 episodes. That was like 8 episodes of that whole thing. So it's that one's going to take a while.
Yeah, if that gets dubbed, it's going to be the first time that story has ever been dubbed in English too.
I'm looking forward to that one, especially some of these episodes. Me and Professor C know this. Some of these episodes that we fan dubbed or tried to, like, seeing it officially dubbed is going to be pretty eye opening.
It's going to be rewarding too, because we
rewarding. I think that's the better word for it.
First ones that did it, because it's
that's the better word for it.
When you're the first, and then you can be like, oh wow, now the official comes along, and maybe some of what we did maybe helps in a small way contribute to that.
And I just remember seeing like you guys in like those YouTube uploadings of like at the panels, and to think of like then to now, like when you were talking about that, it's just mind blowing.
We've been in the trenches, man. C was in the trenches before I came along, but then I came along, and then the other people came along after that, and just to see how far we've come, and this news and everything, and what's going on, like like he said, it's rewarding, because we pushed for this for so long, and we beat that drum, and we put the megaphone out so many times for our love for the series.
Nobody was answering back.
Nobody was answering back. We went to a panel once, and there was like 8 people there, and they were the most passionate 8 people there, and it was real fun times, and through the good times and bad times and everything, just to see where we are now is crazy.
We had that private screening of the fan dub at that one.
I remember that.
We all might be from different periods, different lengths, and different times and whatnot, but at least we can all say at some points and whatnot, we've all been through the trenches together. Like I do think there is nobody more than us 4 that have had a louder voice than anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, there's people out there like some of these other podcasts that I listen to.
Oh yeah,
I know
podcast and stuff.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, like,
Oh, yeah.
they've been in there too, but
Yeah.
you know,
yeah,
They've been doing it for so long at this point, and consistently as well too.
yeah.
If there's
Like,
news, we're covering it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a ride, and now, now we have this to cover.
Yeah.
For the next 6 months. And then after that, and then in 2026, we got the 30th anniversary and whatever stuff they're going to do for that. Because Gosho's going to go out at least. He's going to do something for it. But what TMS and Crunchyroll and Netflix are going to do, I don't know. But
and I
have a feeling it's going to be something big for it. If they're doing this 6 months out now, like, they got to have something in mind at least.
You know what's really interesting? You know how Gosho would go on a lot of hiatuses for sicknesses, and stuff like that. I wonder if, as of recently, because he's had a lot of hiatuses recently as well. And we think that all the main scares are gone. I wonder if those hiatuses were helping this. Like,
I mean, it could. You never know. You never know. He might have had a say in some of this.
Oh, there's no way that he didn't. They respect him too much. There's no way that he didn't. Because if he wanted to maybe to finish whatever seasons that they picked up, but I mean, like, if he wanted to drop Conan down the shitter tomorrow and have it never be touched again, he could do that. I mean, like, I understand TMS Entertainment owns the IP, I guess you could say, but I mean, like, Conan would be very different without him. I don't think, like, I already talked about what comes after Conan, because I do think it's going to go like the Baruto route. Like, I've been stating this for years, since I joined the cast here, and it was I believe that it will end with Jimmy or Shinichi and Ron having a baby, and the baby's name will be named Conan, because they'll look back at this moment, and they'll name him Conan, and then the show could still be called Detective Conan.
That would not shock me one bit.
And I 100%, because they're not going to stop. That's why the show hasn't stopped yet, because it makes too much money.
No, it's making 1 billion yen in the box office every year. Of course, he's not going to stop.
Well, even in Conan Town, that little museum and the shop that's in there, I want you to go Google and see how much money they make a year. Astounding. But we're not going to get into that. But
I want to go there so bad, just one time, just to go there, just to say I've been there.
Oh, I would give anything to stand in Shinichi Kudo's house and stand in, because it's a cafe and it's a remodel of this whole house. I would give anything to stand in the middle of that that study and just like take a picture looking up, kind of thing. Like, and I probably will, because my wife and our son, we do plan on going to Japan at some point, when he's more old enough to appreciate going. And that's one of the places I want to go. I want to, like, just stand in that house, like Sherlock Holmes, if I can, in that chair. I don't know if you're allowed to sit in that chair or not, but like that's a goal for sure.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's just really cool to see it happening. I think it's there's always a what if it does incredibly well, what kind of stuff could come from the 30th anniversary and some of those things too, because if they do really well, I would be happy if they kind of drop the whole collection thing and just start merging those episodes together. That way the number count is kind of easier for people to access, and some of that, I think it being on Crunchyroll is incredibly important because of what Crunchyroll has meant to the series for a decade over here now.
And really, I know important. It's been dodgy, but really what the series has been on Netflix even out here, like it was big for what it was. And I think those are the best two platforms, even though I have my hate relationship with Netflix just because of how they monopolize, but it's like those are the best two platforms to bring it to if you're going to bring it to anybody. And the fact that they were able to bring it to both of them and not just one, because sometimes it's like, hey, you have to go in with dual rights with that. Like, you have to go in stating it's going to both of these, and that's where we want them to go. Are you in or are you out? Because otherwise it's like you have to wait for someone else to expire or stuff like that. And because I followed Sonic very tightly with when what was on Netflix, what was on Hulu, when things would expire and transfer and stuff like that. And so it's very interesting to see that it's coming to both platforms day one. And I think it's really going to help boost the series because it's going to be in the best top 2 places that you could get it. And I don't know if they're really pushing this in the algorithm because of how well Criminal Hanzawa did, but I will not exaggerate. And I've taken screenshots in our group chat for this, for our Conan chat. No matter what device I'm on, no matter how many times I go on, no matter what, every single time I go on without fail, when they show you previews of stuff, like kind of like in screensaver mode, it's always Conan. Always. And I think that they are algorithm pushing it in the sense of this is going to take up a lot of people's screens. So they can be, oh, well, what's that? Detective Conan. And just see if it catches any eyes, especially with old school anime watchers where that art style really hits. But
yeah, which I think is why they're
top 10. If it cracks the top 10 on Netflix, shit's going down.
And I guarantee you it will, because there are so many like early releases that come out and they do hit the top 10 because it's what's new. There are people who will sit there and watch what's new on Netflix because they're like, these are the banger ones. These are the ones that are just, they're coming and they're, dubbed in technically in-house because of Bing Zoom is like their primary dubbing studio, but it's like a lot of people will check those out because they just want to see what, even if they don't know what it's about, they're like, I always watch when Netflix drops. I don't, but like
and that's why I think this is smart of what they're doing and how they're doing it. I think I was listening to one podcast Reveals in their podcast and what they were talking about with this and I think I agree with them that this is the smartest thing that they could have done. If they were going to reintroduce a series like this, I think this is smart going the curated episodes route, because if you do that, when you release it on Netflix like that, and it's like you said, the logic what you were saying is how people will watch it because it's new and it just came in, and maybe people have never heard of the series before. They see these episodes, the really focused in, this is what it's about. Not the anime originals, not the original, not any of that stuff, but the core of what this series is about. And you hook them with that, and then you hook them with the movies, and it's free on YouTube. Another smart idea. You get the movies free on YouTube, so there's no excuse for you not to watch it. And that hooks them in.
And I believe not only is that going to hook him in, you also have the audience who gave that Netflix star rating of those random episodes that included a lot of TV originals, random even just in Japanese. It's going to get those people to come and click on it, but it's also going to get the people who, just like, oh, this is in English, I can watch this. Like just the casual audience who won't watch it in Japanese. Because there's if you imagine if Conan started from episode 1 with this Hulu list or whatever, and it was just Japanese only, I don't think it would grab as many people as it would with it having a dub at launch as well.
All the people that have been waiting for certain movies to get dubbed for 10 years, 15 years, they're going to come and watch too.
I think this is going to crack. I think it'll crack it.
I think so. And I think that at some point they're going to start, even if it's just like video on demand or digital release or whatever, they're going to put the movies out.
I also think
they're going to put the movies out in some form or fashion.
I also wonder if I do think Case Closed will always be a tag that will pull up the series, because I don't think they're going to go that deep in deleting tags. So when you type in Case Closed, I guarantee you Zero's Tea Time and Criminal Hanzawa will still pop up. And I believe it will pull up Conan because it's going to relate to those films and tags. And so it'll come up even if it's not, even if it doesn't have a tag Case Closed in it, just because the other ones do. But I do wonder if, because I don't think that, like I said, I don't think they'll delete tags, but I do wonder if they'll go back and at least change the cover arts to those to say Detective Conan, after launch.
Yeah. I mean, they already changed the cover art for Countdown to Heaven.
Well, with those, yes. I don't mean for the first 5 or 6 movies. I mean for Zero's Tea Time and...
Oh, yeah. I think they might do that.
On Netflix, because on Netflix they were dubbed, but they were still called Case Closed. So I wonder if if they'll change those logos.
Yeah. Once the logo art is final, then I think they're going to go in and change it. Because remember, the logo art's not final yet.
It could be. It's pending approval. So if
the
approval is checked, then it will.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But
so I think
you guys think this will be the final logo? Like, you think this will be the final logo from y'all's perspective?
It looks close enough to the Japanese logo. It's the red and yellow, and
as well too. The English logo uses a gradient for detective, and then Conan looks the same both in the US logo and the international logo. So it's just a slight difference. So I think this is going to be the final for the US.
I'll put it this way: I do think it'll be final, but I do think like how sometimes you can see it in all white, sometimes it has colors.
Mm-hmm.
I think those things can still change, but I do think like the format and the font, I do think that's going to stay.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest with you. I do think Gosho has a heavy hand in this logo, and if this is the logo that they're going to show us, I do think he already approved that. I think like otherwise, I don't think it would be posted on anything. Kind of like you gotta, like I said, this is probably why I was third best in the state for marketing. Is they have to pass certain checks. So, for example, Sakurai, Super Smash Brothers creator, he created Kirby at a young age, and he hates sequelization, so he stopped making Kirby games. Yes, there's sequelization in Smash Brothers, but he doesn't want to see what he created take it away from him because he's more deeper in that series because it's a lot more blood, sweat, and tears. But he still, to this day, checks off Kirby art. Yes, Kirby Air Riders is now a thing, the sequel to Kirby Air Ride, but I think he wanted a break from Smash Brothers, and there were rumors going around saying that he told Nintendo he's not doing another Smash Brothers unless you let me do a different game first, and that's how it was born, whatever. But anyway, to this day, every Kirby game that ever came out since he stopped very early on, he still approved the character designs and stuff like that. So I believe the same thing would come into with how much Gosho cares, that he approved this logo already in the sense of at least design, but it can be tweaked. But I don't see it changing that much. And maybe I hope I'm wrong. I don't know if I fully love this logo or not. So I don't hate it. I'm not over the moon in love with it, but I can live with it. But I do think that maybe they can try to tweak the colors and linings a little bit more to make it look closer to like that Japanese flair. But I do think like the base of this logo is very staying. Because I think it wouldn't be plastered on anything if Gosho didn't like it enough to say you can put this on the poster.
On your promotional,
yeah, because I think he would stop it dead ass quick if he was not into it at all.
Yeah, so
I think why we see variant things. I think that maybe they want to see how people what their comments are about the logo, because like if you do look, it is very different in multiple different places. Some like have the colors, some are just pure
on
white.
Netflix it's pure white.
That's what I'm saying. So I do think that there could be some testing going around. Maybe some things didn't get caught up with the more finalized looking image. Stuff like that, but I do think overall structure it's going to stay. That's my opinion.
Yeah. But I think that there's a lot of potential, and they have the balls in their court, like it's always been, in my opinion. It's in their court to see how successful this is, because the fans that want this and love this and have loved this for so long are going to show up. They're going to show up regardless. Like, we're going to show up. They're going to show up. They're going to support it. We're going to support it. But it's also up to them to push it and say, this is a big deal. We want you to care about it too. Not just the fans that have been there, not just the fans that have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and the fans that have been through all the mismanagement, all the bad communication, all the bad marketing, all that. Those people are going to come and support this regardless. But it's up to them to say, hey, you've never seen this before, here's why you should.
Yeah.
And it's up to them to do that. And that's why I'm hopeful that this big push that they've been doing for the last week now is going to grab some people in. And I hope that the fact that they're putting the movies out for free on their YouTube is a good sign that, hey, they might actually be saying, okay, let's give this one more shot. Because I really feel like this might be the one more shot, because if this doesn't work, I don't know what they're going to do. To be completely honest with you,
they'll just do the movies every year.
Yeah.
That's what we'll go back to doing, I think.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And let me put it this way: I think I don't think Masia's group counted as a fail to them. I mean, it was a fail, and they knew it was a fail, and that's why they washed their hands of it pretty quickly. Because I do, like I said, the Red AF thing. I think, like, at that point, I don't think TMS Entertainment had their hands in it anymore. It was very unverbatim. But I believe what they're going to count as a flop, and like it was only on Tubi. All right, like not a lot of people know what Tubi is. They're still trying to market Tubi. So I to them, I don't think I don't think that counts, right? I think that was a very trial thing, an internal thing that was done. If this fails, I think one thing that they might do is kind of like straight to DVD, on demand streaming kind of things, which is already what it is. It's straight to streaming, straight to Netflix. There is no, so it's very cost effective. But I mean, I could see them just being like, all right, let's just release what we got, keep going. And I don't, and they might just minimize.
And I doubt that the cost,
they do.
And I doubt that the cost is as much as it was back 20 years ago when they put it on cable and they had to make all that money. It took them 15, 20 years just to get all that money back.
Scheduling deals so much, but like what we need to understand is what they could easily do, and I think what their main goal is, if let's say it's not doing well at launch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they are using the Hulu curated episodes, like where episode 2 is missing, right? A canon case, right? And they might just do the bare minimum of what they have to do to catch up, and then like on Crunchyroll, when they do the simulcasting, the episode can be dubbed in English, and you can go back and watch everything you need to know to understand what you need to understand the series up to that point. And that's very cheap. If you do some selective episodes, you have to understand Conan a couple of years ago when I started doing this, statistically, it was 40, and this is funny, 48, because 4869, or 4869, it was 48% filler at that point. Because one season had 72 anime original episodes in it. But what my point is it's going to be very easy to catch up, right? And I think that's worth the money, because they can reduce things if they need to, like cut episodes like episode 2, which I don't think should have been cut, but certain episodes like that where they're canon and they're manga, but and it's not necessarily mandatory for you to get the picture. They didn't drop the hugest bombshell, and I think that they can do that going forward just to get caught up, and then do even the anime originals at that point, where it's like every week that they have an episode, dub it or keep it to manga only and stockpile those episodes in advance so they can air when the other one airs. I don't think this is going to be a big dent in their pocket. Even if it doesn't go well, I don't think they're going to stop quite, unless it's like so bad where like everyone's like, this sounds horrible and this, that, and it's like a boycott scenario kind of thing, then maybe. But I don't think it's going to be a big dent in their pocket, and they might even have way more than what we think done. They could be in the 500s recording right now. We don't know, and because I don't think there's that many, especially in the first 5 seasons, there's not that many manga-cased episodes there that you really need or that really exist.
Yeah.
A lot of that is filler. Who was killed this week? Because the show was only meant to be like 2 or 3 seasons long. I don't know if you know that, D-Wall. Like we talked about it before. The show was not meant to be that many seasons. So,
well, yeah, because most animes aren't. They're only 12 episodes, maybe 24 at max. If they get one season, and then that's it. Because most anime is only to promote the manga.
And I think, to me, I got a criminal justice degree because of this show. But I personally, I did not, I know D-Wall didn't hear the story, and I know there's a lot of new listeners, so I can give a quick summary version of the story. Because I think this is how people might experience the show now. And I think this is actually going to be a very interesting thing. One, English, I feel like it fits better. Death Note's another example. Like where I feel like that show is way better in English than it is in Japanese. Even if you like, me and my wife are rewatching it now, and I have the subtitles on Netflix, and the subtitles play the Japanese dialogue subtitles in English, but you're listening to it so they don't match. And there's so much detail missing. So much. Where like the English dub has to fill those flaps so they add more dialogue that is at least what they're talking about, and it adds so much more depth to it. And I think Conan had its magic in English, but my friend came over at the time when I moved. I had no internet at the time because you don't have internet set up when you first move, especially back in the day. And he put a bunch of anime on my computer, and he would let me say no to an anime if I didn't want to try it out because I was new to anime. And he got to Case Closed, and I said no. And I'm like, I'm not into cop shows, not for me. And he put it on my computer after I told him not to. And I'm like, I'll just delete it when he leaves. And I thought this kid had the dumbest, biggest ears I've ever seen. And I'm like, I gave the first episode a shot because my thumbnails were broken. And some thumbnails he was Conan, some he was Shinichi. I didn't know. And I watched the Funimation dub, and I'm like, I'll watch the first episode. I'm like, does he get his body back? Does it keep changing? I don't know. And I gave the second episode a chance, and I eventually fell in love with the characters. And I think if I didn't fall in love with the characters, I would never have kept going. I think if I started in Japanese with the subtitles, I don't think I ever would have given it the chance a day, even if I got a few episodes to understand the premise. I think my life would be very different. But I think that's very important to note, like how I experienced it. I binged that first 5 seasons, and then when I did get into the Japanese dub, I watched that from the episode where that picked up all the way to like 774 or 747, something like in that range, almost straight, without like, unless you count school and homework and chores or whatever you had to do. And I do think that can have a very same appeal if they do these curated episodes and they do cut a lot of the fat, where it is like Men in Black, Men in Black, Men in Black, Men in Black. It could have a similar effect on these people where you're not just watching these cases and just watching them all unfold. You're getting more story beats and hit faster, and it keeps you more sucked in. You're like, oh my God, Jin just did this. What is he going to do next episode? They're going to, if it is that way, they're going to view it a very different way than everyone how we viewed it. It's going to be very different. It's going to be very smack, smack, smack. This is plot, 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 plot. Not what's the case?
It's not plot, and then the next episode, it's a
Junior Detective League episode or something.
Yeah, or Detective Boys. Which is going to be jarring for some people. It's like Detective Boys, yet there's there's 2 girls in it.
Well, I mean, like, there were so many errors in the Funimation dub. I wouldn't be surprised if they said Detective Boys at one point, because one funny thing is that I noticed is Amy's name is Amy Yodasha in the dub, right? They all had English last names added, and then in some of like the episodes or movies, Rachel would call and be like, "Mr. Yodasha," and I'm like, "That's not his name. It's Jaeger." So like there were some things there where I feel like
And I think that might get tightened up a little bit with these. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure, because the new dubs, they don't use the English names anymore. So
no. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to be very different, and they're not going to be able to mix up those things anymore. Sherry's always Sherry, not Shelly. Stuff like that.
It's going to be very different for people like us who've been here since 2004 when this first came to America, and now, all these years later, 21 years later, we are watching it, I guess, as intended in the States, and everything's different, but all these people that have maybe never seen it before get to experience it a different way than we did. And maybe if we ever get to talk to some of these people, it's like, hey, well, how was your first time watching it? And it's be like, well, when we watched it back in our day, we had.
We're finally going to be like the original One Piece, like where it's going to be seen as like, oh, you watched that version. And I think that's the one way to look at it is.
I think it'll be. I think it would be cool if we at some point, if they do dub over some of these that we've watched before, I think it'd be cool to watch the original, as in the Funimation original, and then watch the new version.
I was
gonna kind of
and we can do that even as a watch party between us, even. But and get more final thoughts on that. But what I was gonna ask you guys was, I watched all these Japanese movies because obviously they all came out before 2019 because they dubbed Zero the Enforcer in 2019. But you've seen a lot of these movies already, or they come out first in Japanese and then a long time later you'll see it in English. And I eventually stopped watching, like with movie 25. I didn't watch that movie at all in Japanese. I was just like, I'm just gonna wait until it's in English because they're already doing English dubs, and this is gonna be the first time I watch a Conan movie or product in English for the first time, not including the Mania group dub, where it's like I'm gonna watch something like a Conan movie the first time dubbed since Funimation. Like, this is huge. But I always watched those movies when they came out, and I always either already have forgotten the ending or if I do remember the whole movie, because sometimes there were certain movies that you'd watch multiple times, where you enjoyed it a million times more in English because it feels like a whole different experience, even though they're reading the same script because TMS Entertainment's at their throat verbatim this. It still felt so like, and it might be because we're boomers in the sense of the show, like we're that seasoned in the show, where you just want to watch it in English. That's all you care about. But I feel like I absorb more when it's in English because that's our native language. But I always walk out being like, wow, I feel like I went to the theater and watched a film, instead of being like, oh, I just watched this in English today. That was cool, I guess. It always feels like a cinematic experience. Like you want to be sitting there with an order out pizza or something and be like, it's an event. Kind of like, and I think it's because of how big Conan is to us. And I think there's a little special English part in our hearts. But there's a reason why there's Conan Town. There's a reason why there's a Conan festival every year where they premiere the movies every year in Japan. Because it is a big event. And I think like when you watch these movies in English, it feels like a huge thing. And I just wanted your guys' opinion. Like, did it feel like a monumental jump when you guys watched these movies in English after watching them in Japanese? Or did you just feel like you watched the same movie twice and it was just like, that was cool, I guess, and I really liked that it was in English? Or did it really feel like this monumental difference to you? Because to me, it did. I mean, JoeB, I think I already know how he feels because he's watched every language of these Arabic dubs that they were doing.
Yeah, I've watched them in like 12 Indian dubs. I watched them in Arabic.
Yeah.
I watched them in Japanese in theaters. Like it literally released in theaters in India, but watching it with an English dub is a special experience because most of us grew up with the Funimation dub and stuff. So,
like last quick note on that before you get into it is, even in Japan, Japan, they watch the Funimation dub. Like, there's a cult out there too. And I think that's crazy. When like you can have people who hate on the names, even though Gosha made them, or you can have people like, oh, this is awful. Like, you have people in your own native country who grew up just like us, who just loved the English dub because of it was something special and it was different. The jokes that were added in for westernized things, like Richard referencing 69 for a quote tag number, and when you watch the Japanese version, there's zero joke made, like zero. And I think the way that they fit those in were flawless. And I do think that's why those people in Japan could linger, because it was something different. It didn't feel like the same show. So I think to us, we might be a little bit brainwashed. But I think the magic is just it fits in English.
Yeah, the English, like, the cast is also pretty good. It's like, they've like taken the time to like find the right people for these characters. So it really pulls it all together.
Yeah, but look, they always find some pretty weird people to voice Conan. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Alison Victor, and I've memed with her a few times, just as much as. Well, I mean,
every time I heard her voice in any other anime, like certain scientific railgun, all I heard was Conan.
Oh well, no, and I think like they pick some very baseline people, because I have two versions of the scenarios of the people that they pick for Conan in English. Is in Funimation they picked Alice Victorian, right, or Alice Victorian, whatever. And I memed with her a few times on Facebook, because she has like this makeup line thing that she does or whatever, and she started it up in a way where it almost looked like a meth lab, right? And I would meme to her in her stories on Facebook. She'd post the stories, and then if you comment on them, it sends them to their inbox. And we would have a few chats here and there. And like I talked to R. Bruce Elliott, and he would tell me like, they never always recorded always together, but sometimes they passed each other in the hallway, and he'd fake punch her on the head, and yell Conan like in the show. But like, she just sounds like Conan, and when she's talking about like this makeup thing, and it looks like you're in a meth lab, and I message her and I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, you sound like Conan right now. And to see him like in a scenario that looks like a meth lab talking about this powder, and that you're concocting yourself and you're talking about it as you're making this, I'm like, it's wild. And she laughed and she thought it was funny. And then you have so she just sounds like Conan, right? And then you have Wendy Lee, who sounds like we watch my wife watches Blue Exorcist, and that one girl, the fire hairy looking girl, Kitty Guru, whatever her name is, she just sounds like Conan. I watch and I'm like, that's Conan, and it's weird. And these people, this baseline, sound like a little boy Conan. Like, and it's not like, oh, they just sound like little boys. They just pick their main little boy voice or their main voice to be Conan, because it bleeds like perfectly into these characters. And then the second part is they're both like really big voice actors in the sense that people like them, in the sense of like their work, like when you listen to it, you don't know anything about them. But apparently there's a huge cult on both sides that, like, for Alice and Victor and for Wendy Lee. And Alice and Victorin's like blacklisted from voice acting and anime, I think, for the most part. And that's why she's doing what she's doing. But she wanted to do it anymore. I think she kind of like jacked her thing on purpose, kind of burn the bridge kind of thing on purpose. But then a lot of people like hate Wendy Lee for maybe some views of like how she sees things or certain things in the political world, or some dicey opinions or something. I don't know, but I remember it being a big thing, and I remember us talking about it. But they always pick some very non-liked people, even if they are liked because they have big roles and people like the voices of those roles, because we live in a world where, yes, I went by Apera, and I'm now rebranded Disputing in the Mania. And if any of you guys know the Mike Pollock situation, like me and my wife pretty much like tore him a new one, but I'm not gonna get into that. But he had some really dicey things that he said, and everyone that was listening to it were betting off in the comments the people like who would also agree, saying it was wrong here and there. But he had this long live stream, and he was just continuing roasting on that path of having that horrible opinion. And what I was trying to get to is, we were the only ones there who like actually brought the topic like to seriousness, because everyone was either like making a really poor joke or saying to him like, oh, I love you as Eggman, or I really love your work, and they were buttering him up, when like 80% of the internet, like, we were, Mike Pollock, me and my wife, we were trending on Twitter for 3 days, the top number 3 spots. So it was big. Like, everyone pretty much agreed with us. But like the fact that 90% of the people in that Twitter space were just pretty much buttering him up. You live in a world now where people just care about the voice actor for what they do, and they'll try to brainwash themselves with everything else, or just not know. And I just think it's really funny that Wendy Lee and Allison Victorin are both like in that same boat, where a lot of people just don't like them for those reasons, where they have like a huge cult of people against them. And I think it's very interesting that Conan got hit with that twice. like not just within the show's characters, just Conan himself. And I think that's very strange, but I don't think it's going to bother many people because I think a lot of people just they project the character on these voice actors instead of, which is probably for the best. But I do think that was interesting about those two characters for Conan. Like they just have a way to pick Conan, and I don't know what it is. And I would love to see them do it a third time and see if it happens again, because I think Conan's just cursed in the United States.
It makes you wonder who they're going to get for them, because if it's a new dub, I think they keep saying it's a brand new dub, then that means they would have to get a third person to play Conan and Shinichi, and I don't know who that would be.
I don't necessarily think so. I think because the Bang Zoom movies didn't touch every single character. And so there's going to be new characters coming. The Masia's group thing doesn't even count. That's going to be more shadow banned to them than truth be told with you than Funimation. And if there are any good episodes and they are just some side characters and like the Detective Boys and other people aren't in it, they might try to reuse it to save some money if it sounds good. I don't know. It really depends where the licenses and those episodes really tie up. But and a lot of those were TV originals, so I really don't. I think that was also on purpose. But I do think like when they can say all new dub, it's because a lot of these characters don't have English voices yet. So you can get away with that. Some people could be replaced. Like there could be a new Rand who is going to be very close to matching the Rand that did the movies, because they're not going to want to redub the movies they already did. And maybe they just redub Rand in those movies if they do change Rand and like re-release the movies, but with like slight alterations. They don't even mention the alterations. You know, you never really know, but I don't think so. But maybe if they were on the side where they didn't agree with Wendy Lee either, maybe they do, and they just say matcher as a possibility. And I'd be okay if they go back and try to redub some of these movies and touch them up like they did with Zero the Enforcer from the first showing to the DVD release, because I hate Pops Kogoro. I hate when he says it. It bothers me so much. And then they drop it, or they'll do the Mr. Mega Ray or whatever instead of Inspector Mega Ray or anything like that, like where it's so formal. I would be okay with some of those changes being redubbed in the movies if they did. But I can't see them doing that. Can't see them undoing the work that they already did. And I can't see them ditching Wendy Lee to do Conan. And if they did, I think they would just ask them to match, truth be told. So I'm very skeptical on the new word, new English dub. And I think it's because the series has never been redubbed from Conan in English from episode 1 before since Funimation. So by default standards, it is a new English dub because it's never been done before, especially under the Detective Conan name. And like I said, they're so weird about this. Like when they first were really showing this on websites and stuff, when it said like, oh, Conan never before seen in English for the episodes, I'm like, Funimation, that was in English, what are you talking about? And then they have that same verbatim word usage on the dialogues for the movie cinema thing, where it's just like, is this an English dub to them? Because you're so vague on just saying in English never before. And so I think it all comes down to wording, like that you can just throw out the window until you see it. But I do think with them using Bang Zoom already for these episodes, I can't see them like replacing everything they've done thus far for the TV show.
Yeah, I mean,
and
even
I
though
think
we've gotten all these,
it shows, because if they wanted to make it cheap with Masia's group, they would not have taken those voice actors from LA and said, hey, we're going to use these more expensive people to do the main characters because we want things to be more fluid with our movies that we're doing. I don't think they would have done that if they were going to recast the characters either. Like, to me, it just doesn't, like, why would you care that hard? I think it's because it's the master plan to make these match, and
yeah. I mean, even though we've gotten all these movies so far, I still see a lot of people like in the announcement like saying, "Is this going to use Jimmy Kudo and Rachel?"
I've seen a lot of those.
Because again, it's these are people that remember what the show used to be, and these are people that are coming back because they see the image and they instantly think case closed.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are, like I said, these are the ones that are going to always be there. These are the ones that have been there for 20 years, that have grew up watching the series when they were younger, and now they're older, and now they're still holding on to that hope that TMS is going to give this series more of a chance than they did. And now they're here, and now they're like, oh, yay, Jimmy's back. And it's like, it's not Jimmy anymore. Like you're gonna have to get used to that. It's like it's not Jimmy anymore.
I know. It's like watching the when I got my hands on the beta for Zero the Enforcer, and I was like, oh yes, English. And I remember it was like 4 a.m. in the morning, and I'm sitting, or maybe I finished it at 4 a.m. I'm not sure, but I know 4 a.m. was very significant to my memory of this. And I remember sitting on the couch, putting it on my flat screen TV, and I'm like, all right, time to get into some case. It was still called Case Closed, right? And we saw them jump it as soon as the license expired. That was around the time I got my hands on it. And I remember sitting on the couch, and I was the first fun fact also that they know. I was the first person to show off the English voices because they put up that promo and took it down. But I had my hands on the promo version of the movie, so I used tools to strip the SFX and everything away, leaving just the English voices for Conan and Shinichi in the opening. And I used, to avoid copyright, I used the Countdown to Heaven theme, which I think is very symbolic. If Countdown to Heaven has an English dub, but I used the Countdown to Heaven track, and I placed the English voices for Conan, and I took it all down because I trashed that channel when I rebranded myself. But I was the first person to show off the English voices to these dubs. The first person in the world. There was nowhere else where you're going to hear Shinichi and Conan for the first time ever, besides on my Facebook page. And I thought that was a really cool thing. But I think it's kind of like in the same boat of, I remember sitting on the couch at like 4 a.m. and then hearing them go like, it's me, Shinichi Kudo, high school detective. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And I think a lot of these people are going to have the same thing when they go in watching it. They're gonna be shocked. I think it's going to hit them pretty hard, because it hit me pretty hard. And I think I already knew, because when we knew the license expired and then I roughly shortly after got my hands on that, everyone was questioning if it was going to be Jimmy, and we hit the point where we were pretty sure it wasn't going to be. So I mean, I had a little bit of clarity in that moment to kind of be open to that experience of it not being, and being hit knowing it's not. But I just remember that 4 a.m. sitting on that couch and hearing Shinichi Kudo in English, like instead of Jimmy Kudo, something that is ingrained in your brain because you've seen those movie openings not only 6 times, because there were 6 movies, but damn well, with the fans that we watch those movies, you probably can't count how many times. And I think it's going to be a huge wake-up call to people. Some people will love it because they'll be like, oh, thank God, I hate that they westernized the show, and now we're talking. And then you'll have some people who are like, I thought his name was Jimmy. So it'll be pretty interesting.
Especially the people like me and Professor C who even fan dubbed it, and we had to, we kept their English names, and we did half English names, half Japanese names, and it's like it was a whole thing. And
we actually did the same thing. I know I helped Professor C with a few dubbing errors that he had on some files, and tried fixing them up the best I could, because like at that time they were already like rendered, so it was kind of like hard to edit already rendered videos, and I did what I could at the time. And then we're still kind of like working on it. It's up in limbo between how much is going on in my life and facing clinical depression and a bunch of other stuff and things that are up in the air, and files and stuff. But we were doing with movie 16 and episode 700, and I don't remember exactly what episode, but it's the prequel. You know how like all like the modern day films have like a prequel episode that leads into the films? Well, this was the only one to get it. It was movie 16, which, so like that movie was before they got prequels, because I believe the prequel started with movie 18, if I'm not mistaken. But this one had an epilogue kind of episode that took place right after, and it was penned by the movie writer. He's dead now, but that we were working on a dub for those, and I know that we still need to get more voices. I don't think we have everything either, and but I used the English names for that script that I wrote, and it was Japanese if it didn't need to be changed, but we kept like the core cast, even like up to like the soccer guy that you barely see, like Harrison Akers, I think is his name, and we kept that, and so I have been talking to somebody else about trying to get him to use part of his team to try to fill in the gaps, because we're still missing stuff, and it's somebody else that JoeB and Aaron are friends with, and I've been trying to talk to, or at least Aaron's friends with him. I don't know if JoeB is or not. And we're trying to get his team to finish out the gaps, but I haven't heard from him in a hot minute. So we'll see what comes to light of that. But like, if we get an official dub, like, does it really matter anymore? It's more of a passion project kind of thing at that point.
I think the thing is, and I think Professor C can talk about this more than I can. I think this was always a passion project.
Oh yeah. So like I said,
it was for the Funimation fan more than anything. That's why we kept those names, because there were people that were writing to us, and we were both reading like, hey, I'm going through a lot. It really meant a lot that you did this and had these names in this format, because that's how I experienced it.
There were people that wrote us that were happy that we did 129 when we did it.
Yeah.
And because they were waiting so long to see it, and they'd never seen it in English before, and the fact that they saw
full
it,
129, because Infinity cut it up and spliced out like 20 or 25 minutes of footage, and we did.
Which I don't know what I don't know what that was about. I don't know what that was about.
I don't either, but they did some good work. They did some good work.
I will give them that.
I don't know what that was about, though.
They did great work with what they did, but some of the things they did, I'm still kind of scratching my head about. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, and I do kind of, even if it's after, I think it's more of a bridge for the fans too to get used to it. But like, I do think like one day I would like it to fully see the light of day, because I mean, like, when I tell you how much work I put into that script, like in the sense of I spent longer than what a team people of writing the script would do. And obviously you would, because I mean, you think it would be a little bit less because it's like, oh, it's like one person versus like a team or two people. But it's like I put more work in it than they did, in the sense of how long that it took and how much effort I put into it. I feel like that script could have been used by Funimation, and maybe a little tweak here and there for whatever reason. But like, the heart and soul that went into that was insane, because I tried to make the ultimate bridge in the sense of like the English names, but keeping everything else Japanese.
I know how you feel.
Yeah,
because I did some early scripts too, so I know how you feel.
I mean, I worked probably like months every day on it, and I try to have my little bit of fun with it, because I'm like, it's just a bridge. So like, is it, like I gave Sherry an adult voice in her head. Ayumi, I don't know why she had this thing for the longest time, up from like the 900s, from like up from the very beginning. I think it's very dwindling out now, and it's always been lessening over the years. But she had this thing where she always talked in the third person, like Ayumi's so mad, or blah 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 blah, or whatever. And I purposely made Ayumi talk in the third person every chance I could, even though Amy didn't really do that often. She may have done it like a handful of times, if at all. But I tried to, like, where you're trying to gauge on both sides very well. And I think it's a very beautiful script, and I would like to eventually get something done with it. But like I said, I've been trying to talk to this other person, and I haven't. I've been very quiet the past few. Between clinical depression, having a baby, I had a 6-disc discectomy, too. So I mean, I've been doing a lot of healing and a lot of pain. I normally wouldn't be in this chair right now doing this if like it wasn't about a series, to be honest. Like if it was another movie, I don't think I would have jumped on right away. I think this is a much bigger picture, something we've been talking about for a long time. But it's been hard. Between Facebook Messenger and on Discord private messages, because I think I've seen a couple messages maybe sent from Professor C, and I haven't opened a single message from anybody on. I have like over 72 missed messages on Facebook, stuff on here. Like I only open the group chat on private messages here. So I do have to go and see if you try to mention the dub or anything to me at any point since then, because I'm trying to get back onto things. But I mean, it's still painful. I can't even stand in one spot for too long. Like I walk with 2 canes, stuff like that right now. So
I'll tell you one thing though. The fact that you're here is amazing and it's great. And number 2, the fact that we can all come together for something we care about.
Oh yeah.
Like that right there is the most important. It's like I have not been this passionate about, because I'll admit I have not watched an episode of Detective Conan in a long, long time.
Oh, I fell off the bandwagon. I don't know.
Like I wanted to, but I just every time I say I'm going to watch one, I haven't. But now, like getting back in here and talking with you guys and connecting with Professor C again, and just reliving all those. I found the old. See, you remember? I found the old Facebook group, the private group.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to watch some of that old stuff again. Like I want to find the stuff that you probably still have somewhere that we can't put up for obvious reasons. Because I want to just
you talking about like
the fan dub.
Oh, I can send you a folder that's got everything.
Yeah, because I think you sent it before, but I just don't have it anymore.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But I remember those late nights we had just talking about it and being so excited about doing all that and stuff. And it's like, if this is how we're going to feel for the next 6 months, like I'm ready.
Oh yeah. But like
I'm ready to come back and just go all in again on this.
I looked at it at the same way. Like for me, like I said, I stopped watching the TV originals, and then I slowly stopped watching the manga cases, and then I tried to get back into the manga cases, and I'd stop. And now I'm just going to completely stop, because I do think like I'll get to know everything I need to know from this new English dub, like even going forward, where I'm going to finish the show as intended for us was in English. And I think that's exciting. Because, truth be told, I think I would need to hear Conan is entering its final arc for me to have picked up the sub again. I truly believe that's how much I fell off. And the fact that, like, no, this has definitely been the most boosted. And it's funny, I get so excited to talk about it when, like, I could spend, like, the last 3 days, like, in this clinical depression episode being, like dying pretty much. And especially in pain doesn't help. And then be able to talk about this and like completely light up like a Christmas tree and talk about it and be like happy. I think it's crazy, because if you would have said like, oh, the next Conan manga episode is going to be a big manga episode, I'd be like, okay, whatever, sure. And I think that also shows how magical it is to us in that sense.
Yeah, all these years later.
Oh man, I mean it's kind of what we wanted the whole time. I will tell you on the fan dub side, Dwall, we did the first 10 episodes technically after Funimation's dub ended. We did those first 10, and then we jumped to Clash of Red and Black, and did the whole Clash of Red and Black. It's all done.
That one was a big. Like huge. I remember when we announced it that we were going to do that, people were like, "Are you kidding me? You're going to do the whole thing?" It's like, yeah, we're going to do the whole thing.
I have a question for you. Speaking of the Red and Black, because I remember watching that right before I binge watched it at night because, like I said, I binge watched all the way up to like 700 and something almost straight, and my mom died at the time, so maybe it was like a coping mechanism thing, where I was just like, let's just gonna watch this. She was alive in the beginning when I was watching the English stuff, but I remember binging it, and when I got to the Clash of Red and Black, it's 15 episodes, right? And I remember being like, I have school in the morning. And I was just like, I counted the hours for how many episodes there were, the minutes and everything. I said, I can do this at worst. I'll have a part and a half that I could try to sneak in during the day at school or something to finish it. Because, there's probably to be juicy at the end. I mean, it's a 15-parter. And I said, let's do it. And I remember watching the whole thing flat right then and there. And to me, especially with the opening and the plot and how they handled the script, like how it all connected. Am I the only? I want to know if I'm the only person, because anytime I ever talk about it to anybody, they never correct me. They never really give me their own opinion on it. And I wonder if you feel the same way. Do you feel like the Clash of Red and Black arc? Do you feel like it was just a soap opera, like the Conan soap opera? Like I feel like that's what it was. Like if it aired one episode a week, like if you watched it in real time when it came out once a week, and even like the way that they did the recaps, they would do like that fast zoom motion to like where it's like a blur across the screen quickly going to the next recap, would be like what they do in soap operas. Like that's the same transition.
It felt like a separate series. It felt like a separate series, all of its own. And even going back and like fan dubbing it, you feel that. You're like, this has a completely different tone than the.
And I was just wondering if people felt the same. I always wondered.
Oh, yeah. A million %. I agree with you.
I will always call that arc the Conan soap opera arc, because that's what it is. I feel like it's just... And I think if they were trying to gear up the end there, because it was supposed to end so many times, and then they keep going. And and that's why Rachel would catch on Rand would catch on all the time, and then she now slowly like never does it. Like when she does it, it's supposed to be a big revelation type thing.
I think she knows. I think she knows. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think she knows, and she's just not saying anything.
Oh, and I still believe it. I still believe she won't 100% know, like in full confirmation or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if Kogoro learns out first, because he was pretty close on getting in the beginning. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds out first, and then they both hide it from Rachel for a short period of time. But
remember though, we still have this rumor from like 10, 15 years ago when Gosho's like, oh, Rand's birthday is very important, and we still haven't got that yet.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like I originally didn't include her birthday in this scenario, but let's say it is her birthday, because that would make it so much worse for the girl. And we all like to hurt Rachel's feelings. And that's a dual meaning joke, and I didn't even mean that. We make fun of something, but not going to get into that. JoeB knows. But anyway, I'll tell you after. But like he remembers. It's a personal joke, so it doesn't even matter. But what is really, really funny about this is I always had the scenario of like it'd be the Black Organization final showdown. They're kind of surrounded, area wise. Like there's barely an escape, right? And they're just in a room, kind of like okay, I gotta tell her. Like we're either gonna die anyway. So what's the difference? But it's also like I need to tell her this so we can get the hell out of here and try to like figure it out. I think they're just going to be kind of in a corner, dire situation. He's just going to come clean, and she might be like, "I knew it," like or whatever. But like that doesn't matter. But I do believe like she'll probably know in like the final showdown. Like, realistically, I don't know if she'll really learn before that, because I think it'd be a very weird structure. Like maybe she can have hints up until then again, like bring that old thing back where she's suspecting it again, and maybe fully believing it. And then being told, but I do think it's going to be like a final showdown scenario. But I think it would be a whole lot worse if they did it to her on her birthday.
I'll tell you, when I first watched movie 13, it tripped me out so much because I thought it was legit.
Oh, yeah.
Like the first time I ever watched movie 13 and Conan came in the room and then Jin's right behind him. And it's like, oh, my God. I can't wait for that to be dubbed just to see how they pull it off, because it's like, my God, that was great.
Phenomenal. But like,
great.
you have to look at it from this angle too. They said that the movies weren't canon.
No,
right?
yeah.
And Gosho.
At least that's what they said at first. I don't know if they're canon now because apparently, I've heard both at this point.
No, Gosho has said recently, and I forgot with what movie it was. Was it movie 24? I don't know, but it was a big, where big things were going to happen in that movie, and he said the movies are canon. So that all.
Funny. Yeah, $1 Million Pentagram had that stinger at the ending, and saying that is not canon is wild.
You know what? I think it was. I think it was the Iron Submarine. I think is when he mentioned it was canon. I think that's when it was. And we were talking they always have preludes like now, like in movie 18, Akai Shuichi, and Okiya Subaru type scenario thing. Like I won't say what their conflict is for spoilers or anything like that, or how they connect the characters or anything like that. But they made the tease in the end of that movie, and then it came to the series. It's kind of like we're like, well, what's going to happen to, does this mean we're going to have a Block Organization Hyper arc coming soon that's going to be really big for the show? And maybe that happens on the 30th anniversary. But I mean, now you have to understand, okay, Rand fought Irish, and she almost punched Vaca in the face. So those are canon. And I think that's crazy.
It just tells me I know I might be completely speculating here, but we might be getting closer to the end. I really think so. Because why would Gosho all of a sudden just randomly be like, oh, I got the ending finished, but it might be changed. And then all of a sudden, the Black Iron Submarine's canon. It's like, and then, number 2, I mean, the boss has been revealed, was revealed 10 years ago. And now he's getting shown more and more now. It's like, it's coming together all of a sudden.
To be fair, Gosho says he's done with the manga.
Yeah, he said that. He said that at least 10 different times in the last 15 years. So, I mean,
I put it this way. I put Gosho into this category. I put him into there's a pool of information I don't listen to him in, and another pool of information I take from him. And you got to look at what the information that you take. Like, for example, I'm going to retire by 52 years old. That's what you said about, I'm going to retire at Dr. Gash's age. He didn't do that. Stuff like that, I don't listen to. Because I'm like, or the show's ending, or I have it written down, or I have the ending written in a safe, and only 3 people know about it, or whatever. Like, stuff like that, you can maybe take here and there, or weigh it maybe. But when he says certain defining things about his franchise, I take them. Like when you say the movies are canon, okay, there's a reason why the movies are canon. And I think early on, it's because yes, he's involvement in all the movies. But I think he looks at it in this way. I think he always looked at the movies canon. I think they left it as a caveat of never fully confirming it, because just in case they want to retcon that they can. But I think the movies were always canon, because if you look back at 14th Target, the reason why Richard sucks at being a detective is because he shot his wife, right? That was never written in the manga. That was never written anywhere else. And Gosho, when asked about that scenario, he goes, yes, that is the real story. That is really what happened. That is why everything is set up. We just haven't talked about it yet in the show or in anything like that. Because maybe they were saving that more towards the end to show that he can become a true detective later without Conan.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, any final thoughts or anything that you guys want to kind of end off here with? I'm sure we'll be back doing this here sooner than not after we get a chance to sink our teeth into this.
I think because Thursday is the first episode drop, so
yeah.
But it'll be interesting to kind of catch up back on this when that drops. Well, I already stayed on a little bit, and I'm the one doing the recording right now. But my wife works from home and stuff like that, and we got to get the baby down and her, all of us pretty much to get ready to go to bed here. So I'm gonna have to hop off soon. But if you all want to like start a sign off on each individual person, if you want to say where you can find yourself, or if you just want to close yourself out.
Oh no, that's cool. That's cool.
Y'all know where to find me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there are new people, I'm sure.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Probably after tonight, yeah. Well, people seeing this, but
well, anyway, as for me, I used to go by Apera for my Conan name, but you can find me at Speeding in the Mania. I go by Manic now, and yeah, that's me. You can find me anywhere at Speeding in the Mania or Speeding in Mania, and some places that have character limits, but.
Yeah. One thing that we have to point out before going is like share this and watch this as much as possible. If TMS is having an event at a con near you, go and talk to them about Detective Conan. If they like the movie Black Iron Submarine is going to have a form like survey form at the end. So if you do go to the movie screening, be sure to fill it out. Let them know that you want Conan. Like let them know as much as possible that Conan is still relevant and that you guys really want it. And then yeah, and watch the
Stream
movies,
it.
watch all of the
No,
episodes.
we're not even asking you to buy it anymore. Stream it.
Watch it as many as you can, as many times as you can, as many devices that you can.
Yeah.
I'll be watching it on mine and my wife's both Netflix account, just on the Netflix side. I'll watch it on Crunchyroll, and I'll watch it on YouTube. So like
Yeah, even if you're not in the US, you can like use a VPN and like either rent the movies on YouTube or like even just watch the episodes on Crunchyroll whenever they release, or even on YouTube the movies using a VPN. So that's always an option. Most VPN support the US, so it's fine for like any international viewer.
All right. Well, I think that's enough. Did anybody else have a last closing word at all?
I'm just looking forward to everything that's about to happen, and we are going to come back. For those of you listening, we are going to come back, and if we can, and talk about the collection that drops, and give our thoughts about it, and what they did, and what they could have done better, and just kind of reflect on it, and then hopefully we can go into the watch party and see how that goes too, because I'm interested to see who shows up, and I'm interested to see who how that goes and how successful that goes for the first one, and then thereafter what they do after. But it's a great time to be a Conan fan. Like for real. It's a real great time to be a Conan fan right now. Like I can understand some people that might be skeptical because we've been down this road. People like me and Professor C, we've been down this road like at least 20 times. But I think this time is different. I feel it this time's different. And like I said, it's up to them.
And we're gonna manifest it this time.
Yeah.
But with that, this has been the One Truth Prevails podcast, and we will see you all next time.
Awesome. Take care, guys.